Oh, let me rerun my smooth jumps. There we go. Dave says I am, because when the realization hits, it's going to be fantastic. Schemes. It's less than a week till Longship Day, and I am nervous. How are you? Oh, right. Oh, speaking of which, all right. So we have a lovely guest in the wings. Right. I just need to do some audio mixing and get our friendo in. Now, let's see if this works. All right. I love doing these things live. Okay. Let's see if this works. Hello, sir.
Hello.
Can you hear me, sir?
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
I can indeed. Let me plumb your video screen through to these lovely individuals.
Let's see. I can't see you.
It has decided to be a bot.
I can see 2 squares.
I may have to do that old-fashioned thing of giving you the Twitch link so you can see, albeit slightly delayed, us both together. Dan's not actually here yet, everybody. It's just it's a fictional Dan. Metaphorical Dan. That's why I haven't introduced you yet.
Metaphorical Dan.
Metaphorical Dan.
Oh, there you go. Is that the link to the stream? Okay.
It is, yes.
Hold on, let me just... Is that going to run? Oh, the broadcaster has indicated the channel is intended for mature audiences. Well,
I know. I laughed at a fart joke earlier. That's the level of maturity that we are busting for.
That is, that's high level stuff.
Well, I was informed that the remake of Stubbs the Zombie comes with an F art book, a fart book.
Ah.
And apparently that makes me laugh, because I'm a child.
I see what they did there.
Yeah, apologies for the faffermancy, good sir. Okay. Might have made it work. Hang on, let me just readjust your shot, good sir. But...
Oh, there I am.
There you are. Apologies for this.
Large and in charge, hello.
God, you wouldn't think I'd do this for a bloody living these days, would you? There we go. Okay, now they can see your face. Dude, thank you for coming to join me.
Hey, not at all. It's been a while, hasn't it?
Dude, I was actually racking my brains from the last time we hung out in the real, and it has been like a scary long time.
Was it at Gamescom?
Oh no, we had one random hangout at Loading Bar, but that was pure coincidence.
Yeah. Sorry, I'm blinking a lot because one of my eyes has just suddenly decided to... I don't know if I've been cooking... Well, I was cooking earlier, and clearly there's some remnants of something I was using, some spice or something, and I've just sort of rubbed my eye, and now I'm sort of weeping. It's not tears of joy at seeing you, Will, unfortunately. It's just...
I was so ready for the reunion moment.
That's what I should have put. I'm so overcome with emotion. But, no.
If you need to go sort it, we are in no rush.
I'm
you're in and in shot.
Onion. No, it's all right. It's good. It's good. Carry on. I'll just cry intermittently. Don't worry. I'm very emotional. The effect lockdown has on my psyche.
Oh, though interestingly, like, sorry, well, because I'm just throwing a tweet to let you know we got you in here.
Cool.
Feck off. Sorry, it's the one sunny day in Seattle, which is why I currently look like I'm in a dingy basement. I did not move to this region because of, like, sunny days, let me tell you.
No, I've been to Seattle a few times. You know, when I used to work for that company, I used to stay in Seattle a few times.
Indubitably. So I'm just banging out a quick tweet to let people know you're here and they can come chat to you and whatnot.
Cool. I'll let me know when it's sent and I'll LRT.
Salen's just informing that one sunny day in Seattle. Continuing the lie. I was informed that Seattle does actually get nice weather, and that it's a conspiracy by the Seattleites to keep people out. All right,
yes.
Friends, can you all hear Dan nice and clear? Lovely viewers.
Am I clear?
I realise I didn't even ask. I don't have an image for this. Why? I am all over the place today, dude. I'm so sorry.
That's fine.
I've got some cool things to ask you about and chat about, but for everything else, I seem to be 3 sheets to the wind.
In terms of all the preparation leading up to that moment.
Yeah, no, on point. You know what? I'm just gonna use the prance from Monster Hunter because.
Yes, please.
I still go back to that asset. It still makes me smile.
And now you can't even do it.
No, but you can be a ninja, I guess.
Yeah.
It's not the same.
Well, don't make the Prans paid DLC or something daft. I think it was DLC in World, and I think they're going the same route with this one.
The shenanigans of it all.
Oh, it's just they know it's the most iconic gesture of the lot, and to just cynical. There's a lot to love about that game, but taking the Prans out, not cool.
Not cool. Okay. High-speed tweet deployed. There we go.
All right. I will. Hang on.
Oh, so these lovely Mother Hubbards do have one question for you off the bat, because I did mention a little of your previous work, and they would love to know Monster Hunter weapon main.
There's no such thing. Well, my thing is I tend to switch from game to game. So historically, I've done what did I start on? So I started on Monster Hunter 3, the Wii U edition of that. So I start with Longsword, and then I moved to Lance, and then I think it was Sword and Shield, and then I think it was Charge Blade most recently. No, Insect Glaive, and then Charge Blade, and now I'm doing a mix of Charge Blade, Insect Glaive, and bow. I'm having a lot of fun with the tweaks to the bow.
Oh, nice. I mean,
yeah.
I did very expect that I'd become a heavy bowgun main, but that's my life these days. Just
really
big honking shots. Yeah, I used to be full weave, just longsword purist. Yeah. Okay, River. Yes, I know the long. Getting heckled by my own dog. No, doesn't appreciate the longsword purist that I used to be.
No. your dog's just like, great sword, mate. That's where it all started.
It should have been. What's cooking? Okay, so tweets have been deployed. You can see faces and cameras. Audio levels are where I want them. So, ladies and gentlemen, it is my absolute pleasure to introduce you to Dan Maher. Dan, thank you for coming on the show, dude.
Hey, thank you very much for inviting me on. It was a message out of the blue. I'm really, really pleased to hear from you and get a chance to catch up in front of other people. I feel exposed.
Well, okay. So there were some things that I thought was really worth chatting with people about. As I don't know, it's not like it's been an ongoing series or anything, but we've been talking with a lot of different people about the games media ecosystem. So we've spoken to my good friend Sam, who's over at Ars Technica. We got Jesse Cox on. We got Nathan Grayson, and a bunch of other people who have very different views. And so one of the reasons that I thought would be one of the things, aside from just catching up and talking Monster Hunter, that would be cool to get into is some of your experiences from doing like original content inside a big entity.
Mm.
Now, obviously, we're dealing with the big purple. Oh my word, the big green cross. So usually I would have said this beforehand, but as you've noticed, I've been very ill prepared today. If there's anything that you can't talk about today, feel free to be like, sorry, I can't get into details on that. No one's going to be offended.
I think I'm all right to talk about most of it. We'll see.
Plus, it's a real good introduction for these lovely folks as to your good self, because most of us do know you from the classic Xbox Live days.
Most of you, I'd be surprised. It feels so long ago now. It's unbelievably, I think, 9 years ago now that I left.
Oh God! So that and you were
which
there
is
for
more
a good
than
while.
twice as long as I. It's more than twice as long as I was actually there for. So yeah, I'm almost sort of touched if anyone watching this stream remembers me.
Oh, me and Stammering definitely did.
Oh, that was 2 of you then. Awesome.
Yeah. 2 out of 50. Not bad.
That'll do. I'll take it. I'll take it.
Well, so would you like to introduce your good self to these lovely people, and then we can do a quick the abridged history of Dan.
Sure. My name's Dan Maher. I'm currently, my official job title right now is editorial director of a company called Explosive Allen Productions. Even that has an Xbox connection. And yeah, I've been in the games industry now. This marks my 20th year in the games industry. I think coming this October or November. And I've just been here in various guises, just sort of winging it generally. But right now, yeah, I make videos. I help make videos for lots of lovely game brands. I don't do the actual video making part of it. I have no skills in Premiere whatsoever, but I'm the guy that sort of comes up with the concepts. I do a lot of the scripting. Sometimes I do voiceover. So just a mix of skills that I've accumulated over the years have now all sort of catamaried into a single role that I've created myself. Hello.
And we've got Smacowley and Goochbot.
Goochbot. All right.
Goochbot just wanted to say,
how's it going?
sent you a message is still missed, which is real true.
Oh,
We'll get into that in a second.
Thank you.
And Cowley, big up Dan for your performance of Rollin at the GMAs. Wow.
Rolling. Limp Bizkit, yeah.
Oh, that's a double, well, technically a triple whammy of retro vibes.
That was a night.
Yeah. Also, friendos, if at any point you've got any cool questions for Dan, feel free to @VikingBlonde in chat, and I'll pose them to him throughout, or we'll do quickfire questions, or however we feckin' feel.
They don't have to be cool. They don't have to be cool questions. They can be incredibly nerdy, uncool questions. In fact, please make them nerdy, uncool questions.
Uncool questions only.
Yeah.
Guest has requested. Okay, so as I was saying, most of us became aware of you from your work over on Xbox Live back in the day. So do you want to give us a little grounding in that, how that came to be, and some of the stuff you did for, I guess, for especially our American audience who missed out on that whole peak?
Well, they got to see some of it because they did run some of our stuff over on the Xbox Live dashboard in the US. But yeah,
oh, nice.
so
I actually didn't know that.
Yeah, they did. They liked it so much they broadcast some of it over there. So we did have a bit of a US following. But yeah, so I worked for PlayStation. I worked for Sony Computer Entertainment Europe, as they were known then, for 6 years, both writing for PlayStation.com and also as a producer. So I worked in their international software development team, who's the group that's responsible for taking any games that were developed by US and Japanese developers, anyone outside of Europe, basically, and bringing them over to Europe. So I worked on a bunch of games there, things like God of War 2 and Tekken Dark Resurrection, and loads of sort of cool little bits. And then a friend of mine got in touch saying that they'd been approached about this job at Xbox, and they thought it was better suited to me, so they'd recommended me for the role. So I went for it, not having any desire at the time to go for a job. I just went for it and decided I'd give it a go. And then they explained to me that it was to be the editor of Xbox Live in Europe, which was essentially running the Xbox 360 dashboard and all the content that appeared on the blades as it was back then, before they even got to the sort of the second dash update. So they were just getting into that. And they said, we've also got this little service called Inside Xbox. It's basically a few text-only pages. It's glorified teletext, really, and not much more. I was like, okay, cool. I can write. I'll do a bit of that as well. And then very shortly after, they sort of said, well, we'd like some video in there as well. And I worked alongside Graham Boyd, aka AC Bongos, who's still at the company to this day. Actually, in your neck of the woods, Will. He's over.
Oh, nice.
He's over in Redmond now, I believe. So yeah, I thought, well, he's the natural fit. He's the guy to do it. And I was really resistant to it because I'd never done any form of presenting before. No video work at all. It just wasn't sort of. I didn't believe it was in my blood. I was quite a shy, retiring type. But then gradually I sort of got roped into it. And then as the dashboard grew and the presence of Inside Xbox and the potential for Inside Xbox grew, I just sort of built a team up and sort of fell in love with that side of things and writing original video content and acting as like a small community focused corner for the dashboard where everything else was very driven by marketing rules and regulations, and you know, it was all fairly strictly defined. We found ourselves in a strange little pocket outside of the purview of marketing, where we didn't really have to get approval for anything we were doing. So that became Inside Xbox. And initially people were very skeptical about what we were doing because they were just like, oh, corporate mouthpieces, boo, we hate you. Because, you know, gamers are notoriously open to change. So we persist. Nevertheless, we persisted. So we just carried on, and I just wanted to make people realize that it was coming from a very honest place, that I'd been gaming since I was 2 or 3 years old. It was all I'd wanted to do for a living, and that, you know, I was excited to be like in the building. I was a ninja who'd managed to stealth my way into Microsoft and was able to make fun content, influenced by all the things that I loved as a kid, all the magazines I used to read and digitizer on teletext itself, and that idea of just having a little group that you could be part of, and feel that you were part of something that was just outside of the, you know, that existed sort of on the peripheries of the mainstream, and that was generally the goal for it.
Yeah, cool.
I think that's enough rambling. Yes.
No, I mean, I know I've said this to you like in the past and stuff, but what was great was that, especially for individuals like myself who were dev side, watching that kind of thing, it was a great case study for us to be like, you don't have to always be selling. You don't have to do marketing focused content. Like, people really resonate when you come at them honestly and talk directly from a place of passion rather than from trying to buy the toys. And I have often put that forward as part of like the move towards content creation as part of the main staple, like the move away from the traditional dev diaries and the heavily edited style of internal assets or external assets that we would see, like outside of trailers and the standard, you know, let's take a tour through the studio. And yeah, I'm not saying G4's to blame for a lot of that, but some days I feel like. Anyway, and then, I mean, admittedly, the rise to YouTube did come a while after Sent You a Message and Inside Xbox content, but that
almost concurrently, I'd say like that sort of dawn of YouTube content creation was happening concurrently. And I feel like what we were doing was a very sort of prototypical example of what became the YouTube model around that point. I'm not calling myself a pioneer. I'm not saying anything like that, but I'm just saying that there were definitely people I met at events who were in the early days of YouTube who were like, oh, we love you guys. And then obviously went on to do just bigger and better things and just, absolutely exploded in popularity completely off their own back, and they didn't need the backing of a multi-billion-dollar corporation to sort of get their face on camera. They just did it and built their audiences like organically as was possible in those days. But yeah, it was interesting to see the company, I guess, almost move away from that format towards the end of Inside Xbox, as I guess that format was really in ascension, across the rest of the web. It was quite peculiar. It was like, okay, so you've sort of, and they've obviously kind of come back to it now and really embraced it again. But yeah, at the time, it was nice to see that we were, I don't know, part of that movement, I guess, away from sort of slightly stiff and orthodox presentation, in the ways that you're sort of saying there, these very sort of stiff studio tours and whatnot, which unfortunately, now being a video production company for commercial brands, we're almost as guilty of making, but at least we try and make them look as sexy as possible.
Indeed.
But you do still come up to a lot of resistance internally to any ideas that are just slightly out there, even mildly out there or experimental. Even if initially they kind of go, oh, we love it, you can guarantee that over the coming weeks and months, it'll be gradually sort of sliced away until only the rather dull core remains.
Indeed. Well, I mean, we can get on to Explosive Islands Productions in a sec, and okay, you're right. Pioneer's a little aggrandizing, but as I said, like, a lot of us who worked in the UK game space were very much influenced by that, and it's definitely something that I attribute to the rise of kind of like the community-focused content. Before we really understood as an industry how important community was, like, if you think about it, like, while the Xbox Live message boards and Xbox Live as a place did have a strong community, it was kind of very much in the old school back then of, like, it was all about getting people onto the forums and mailing lists, and that was kind of considered the full remit of a community manager. Now a community manager can be a feckin' backflip, bat-eating ninja rock climber who does, like, podcasts about varying cheeses from halfway up a mountain, and that can be part of a content strategy. But yeah, that's, as I said, it's one of the reasons why I wanted to bring you on and talk to about that, because there are very few people who were there right as it flipped over. And what you were saying about content creators, again, I know a lot of people who work in the YouTube space watched that stuff back in the day and then kind of did their own budget variants that ended up doing very, very well. So, I don't know, I guess I just really want an excuse to highlight that today, you know what I mean?
Thank you. It was, but I think the beauty of it, as I think is the case with the genesis of most movements, is it wasn't necessarily done with any intention to do that. It was just what felt right for me and what felt right for us, and we just wanted to have fun. It was like, well, the best way to promote anything in the game space is to have people who genuinely believe in it, who play it, and are as equally excited about what's coming out as you are. And you just have to shed the sort of cynicism a little bit. And you're often faced with cynicism, especially from the gaming community, because they think, oh, there's kind of an angle here. But with us, I felt that the tactic was to rest on the intelligence of the viewer to read between the lines a lot of the time. The bulk of the Xbox dashboard, which was the other side of my working day, was being told, okay, we have to promote Game X in slot 3 on this, and everything had to be placed according to multiple deals that have been struck between third-party relations and other publishers and things like that. All the sort of machinations that you completely associate with a major platform and all the publishers that they're trying to lure towards their platform. And obviously with Xbox, the whole indie scene, Xbox Live Arcade at the time, all that, we were managing all of that, the addition of films, all these things across multiple European territories. So I was sort of juggling all that side of things in addition to maintaining this editorial service too. And so what we did when we promoted games or featured games on Inside Xbox, that almost in itself was our seal of approval. It was a bit like, we're featuring this because we genuinely think it's awesome and you should check it out. You know, everything else that we were a little cooler on, we'd run something that we personally weren't endorsing. So you know, if it was a game that we thought was duff, we might have gone along to a press event and shot an interview with the developer of it. And so we'd run the developer interview and go, okay, so we've promoted the game. We, like myself or Andy, we haven't gone, oh, we think this game's fantastic, check it out. But we've given it sufficient coverage to make everyone happy. And we certainly had a lot of respect among like product managers and that side of things. On the third-party relations side, they were really big fans of us, and they used to use us, you know, when they were talking to these third-party publishers and go, oh, no, if you do this, there's a chance that you're going to get your games featured on Inside Xbox. You know, that was a big thing. Whereas I felt that the more conventional side of the sort of brand marketing and that were very frustrated with us, primarily because they didn't have that degree of control, and because what we were producing wasn't necessarily built around any kind of overarching brand strategy or anything that considered. You know, it was very much like, here's the calendar, here's what we've played, here's what we're looking forward to, here's what's cool. We've got a regular suite of shows, a tiny crew to try and put this out. What's the most fun we can have with this, and what's the most efficient way that we can get it out on a daily basis to keep people coming back? And you know, we couldn't do things like, we couldn't track if we'd run a video about an Xbox Live Arcade game and then track if anyone watched that video and then went and bought the game. All we could do was extrapolate. So I would look at stats a lot, because, you know, I did have to spend a lot of time justifying our existence to people, to higher ups. And you know, the data was always there. If we had a show called the Arcade Cabinet, which was basically myself and Andy playing through a game and commenting on it. You know, it was an early Let's Play. And you know, every time, if this game had been underrepresented on the dashboard in terms of promotion, but we'd run a video about it, there was always a definite spike in sales on what we'd done. So we knew we were having an impact, but we weren't doing it in that, you know, as you say, that heavy-handed buy this, pre-order this way. We were just naturally including stuff. And that is the way that games now are often sold. You know, you see with PewDiePie, for example, he was almost single-handedly responsible for the resurgence in Skate 3 and Skate's popularity. You know, that there are multiple examples of that the longevity or the sudden resurgence of certain games is down to individuals just promoting it on their platforms organically, because they're like, hey, I've played this amazing game, check it out. And suddenly people are like, shit, why have I not heard of this? Because it's just not part of that, you know, the conversation they're exposed to usually.
More for the audience, but one of like the big famous examples recently has been Among Us, which launched, failed. The team began work on a sequel and follow-up, and then it was picked up by content creators, I believe in South Korea initially, and then spread, and now is world stretching. Actually, so Sapience hit upon something that I did want to... I wanted to talk to you about this one more for like practical tips for people that may find themselves in a similar situation. But you were talking about like justifying your existence and having to manage different departments. Were there any pro strats that you developed for having to manage departments that have a certain vested interest but not control, or higher ups that do not understand what you are doing?
One, delegate. You know, sometimes there are just people who you get on board the team who know certain elements of the business better than you, and you can put them in front of the right people because they speak the same language. That's always very handy and kind of leave you to be kind of hands off. But in many ways, what helped me was that because I'd had the experience in the corporate space for 6 years prior, I knew how to toe the line. I knew the sort of level of language to use. I knew, I guess, you know, critically how to refer to things in a way that was considered safe enough. But again, there was a lot of subtext. I think a lot of the time, you know, I wouldn't say anything we did was subtle, but I think people, you know, understood where we were coming from a lot of the time. And so all I did was I played the game. I mean, I attended the right meetings. I created shows specifically to fulfill marketing remits as a sort of like, okay, you let us do our sent your messages and you let us do the Nexus and those kind of things. Meanwhile, we will make sure that we have a show that's purely dedicated to promoting new additions to the video platform. You know, it hits all of your objectives in terms of what you want Inside Xbox to promote. But it just so happens that when we do that, we'll have a competition where we read out everyone's tweets in ridiculous voices or something. You know, we always found a way to just add a little bit of Inside Xbox to even the most, I guess, kind of corporate concept. And similarly, even with stuff that we were getting from the States, there was a great guy, Ryan Trite, who I think he's still in Microsoft in Redmond as well. He used to send over his tips videos. So he would provide his Xbox tips videos. And we were like, well, we don't just want to repost AN American guy reading out the tips. So, you know, often Andy would just go off and just re-script them. And he would just inject extra humor into those tips because they were very straightforward tips videos. Then he would just introduce elements in our conversation or just back and forths that would just, you know, elevate them a little bit from being very sort of staid tips videos. No offense to Ryan, because he was doing all the hard work and you know, capturing all the footage and getting all the tips because he's a really great player. But yeah, we were just making sure that it fit our market and suited our audience's expectations. I think the only things where we were like we couldn't do anything about it is when we had to run some of the latter day 360 content, like the Connect show and other, well, you know, I'm allowed to say awful shows that they were trying to generate. Like, it was always wildly overthought and wildly over budgeted stuff. Every time we were like, can we have some money for a camera? They were like, oh, no, there's no budget for that. By the way, we've spent $750,000 on a virtual set that we're going to use to promote the Kinect, and the presenter is a former weather girl who knows nothing about games. And you're like, okay, you know,
give me flashbacks, mate. You're giving me flashbacks.
Yeah, I know. You're just constantly sort of battling against the tide. So we were effectively the little team that could, and you know, if you saw some of the circumstances we found ourselves in over the years, just trying to make stuff, it was bonkers. Like, you think in an organization like Microsoft, you just have a world of you know, rooms and technology and all sorts open to you, and it was just like, no. There was one stage where we were told there was no space for us in the office we're in, so we were sent to this weird like hinterland, which was in the middle of Soho, this kind of brutalist concrete building that had 2 floors that were home to like an almost defunct sort of ad sales team, a really lovely security guy who just like adored us and kept drawing pictures for us of comic characters and stuff. And we were shoved into this sort of little side room. There were like 4 or 5 of us. And we literally got to the point where I just hired Ash, who's now, you know, my business partner, Explosive Alan, who we just got from GameSpot. And on his first day, like, he had to construct his own desk. Like, we had to just buy a desk from IKEA. And he was like, welcome to Microsoft. Now build your desk. It was like that. And then we shot all our videos on a second floor that was just abandoned, just this empty office space where we just popped up a green screen and a sofa. There's a whole period of time when we did that. So it was only, we did a whole joke about it, like, I think it was the penultimate or the final series of Sent You a Message, where in the first shot, we're on the green screen. I'm like, oh, there's a studio over there. And we're like, what? It's been there the whole time. So we just kind of wander off, and finally we've got a set, like 5 series in or something ridiculous. We actually managed to get some budget to build a fucking set. and then we're made redundant shortly after. You know, it's that kind of fuck. And they wouldn't even let us take the stuff. Like we had like a custom IX made, and they basically just like sold it all off internally once they'd sort of kicked us all out the building.
Oh no, that's always sad.
Yeah, not even. Well, the funny thing is like when Inside Xbox was done, they were like, we're getting rid of it. Like we are literally disavowing all knowledge of this service existing. We are wiping it from the 360 dashboard. Please give us. This was Graham Boyd, by the way. He gave me a call. Was like, mate, I'm really sorry about this, but you need to give me the keys to the YouTube channel, which was we were just using as a bit of an archive of stuff. And I was like, mate, can you please just at least keep it there? Just speak to someone and say, can we just keep it there? Because it's not the official channel. We started that up just to keep it somewhere. And fortunately, you know, good guy that he is, he managed to make that happen. So there is still an archive of all our, you know, tragic videos that I can look back on occasionally and go, Jesus Christ, what the fuck was I thinking with regards my hair, my writing, my presenting? Like, it's just like this archive of regret now. You know, I recognize it was very popular, but for me, I just look at it and go, Jesus Christ.
These things are important. They strive us to do better.
They do. They every day, push me to do better. There's stuff in there that I'm very, very proud of, and I was like, oh, we got away with that. That's good. There are moments that I really love, and we even had slide digs at other channels and all sorts of bits in there that I really love. If they'd had their way, we would have just been blipped. Thanos snapped out of existence. By the powers that be, but you know, we've lingered like a bad smell.
Sorry, the things about you'd expect there to be budget was a haunting flashback to so many memories, like doing pilots on our mate's feckin' like flip digicam because it was all we had.
Flip cams, oh my god.
Yeah, dude. And even when it happened, we got given a DSLR Canon, one of those ones that unless you hacked it, you could only film for 10 minutes at a time.
Yes.
Feckin'. Okay, so we're gonna have an intermission of very, very important questions. And the first one being, what is your favorite D&D class, Dan?
Prepare to hate me. I don't play D&D. We've just actually our company has just started the second game, so we've got a DM and we've been doing some Zoom ones, but I just haven't been able to. It's not that I don't want to. I actually had a couple of games and loved it. I was actually a female elf, and I was the partner of Gareth, who was a huge barbarian who used to collect dicks as trophies and wear them Universal Soldier style as a necklace.
Just a necklace
and that
shriveled.
We were that sort of odd couple. I was this very sort of gothy, moody female elf, and he had a really ridiculous name as well, which I can't remember. But
this sounds exactly like a comic I bought from like a feckin' charity shop back in the day. And obviously, we've got some other like banging top tier questions. Favorite crisp flavor that has also been asked.
What am I enjoying at the moment? I like a bit of sour cream and onion.
Ooh, it's a fancy choice.
Yeah, I'm sort of going off piece with away from crisps and more of these. Like, have you tried hummus chips? My God, they're amazing. Sour cream and onion hummus chips. Go on.
I discovered bagel chips, and those are fucking top tier. It's the one good thing about being out in the US. Snacks. They know how to snack.
Snacks.
No business.
Do you know we've got KFC flavored Walkers now?
What?
Yeah, they do. KFC flavored Walkers and Zynga flavored Walkers Max as well.
Every day we fly too close to the sun.
It means becoming like clear water.
Oh god, I had a real good segue into Explosive Alan stuff there. And
go on.
I distracted myself with D&D talk. It was a top tier segue and all.
Sorry.
No, it's cool because I don't just want this to be a send you a message fan session. Although, I did want to talk about moving into Explosive Alan and how taking that kind of rebellious nature from your previous work and moving that forward into a production company that does pieces. See, so friends, Explosive Alan is a production company that does a whole swath of things for a bunch of different companies, primarily video games, by my understanding.
Yes.
And a very successful podcast, I believe.
For a spell, yeah. I mean, you'd think the lockdown would have been the perfect excuse to do it regularly, but we're all dads now. We all had kids the same year. Yeah, I was about to say something wrong, but no. I was going to say I was very busy that year. So our priorities have changed hugely, but yeah, podcast and trying to act like a responsible bunch of business owners now, which is weird, but yeah, kind of effectively 3 friends, and I'm happy to say still friends after 9 years of running a business together. But trying to bring sort of what we know, trying to utilize all the contacts we made and our love of games, and just trying to bring a bit of that back into other people's content.
Yeah. Oh, so for a bit of context here, friends, so teams like Explosive Alan are semi-common across the games industry. Not every video that you see can be made by an in-house team. Not every development team even has an in-house team. So we'll often look to teams like Dan's to be like, hey, we have an event, or we desperately need a trailer, or we need something. Help us, we will pay you. Also, Nutty Jawa, along with Craig Chaotic. Hello, welcome, Watto. Feel free to ask any questions of Dan. I'm writing them down, although so far it's just been D&D class and crisp flavors.
Just over and over again.
Yeah, it's weird obsession with D&D crisps. Sorry, just to give a little context.
There's a business opportunity.
Oh, I bet someone at Wizards of the Coast already pitched it. They've got it all. Okay, so I guess what I wanted to cover was a couple of like the bangers you've done with Explosive Alan, for example. Like I want to say it was the 3DS one with Gore Magala, the Capcom asset.
Yes.
The evolution of the Prance. As a really good example of an external team asset making something special and taking that thread through.
Yeah.
So I realise I've not given our lovely audience even a hint of context for this. So
I can do that if you want.
That would be lovely. Multi-track thing over here.
So I was playing a lot of Monster Hunter and I loved the prance, and so I captured a load of footage of my characters prancing in just various locations around Monster Hunter, and I got very lucky sometimes. Like I'd just have like laser blasts going past me and all sorts of funny things. We just set it to this obscenely irritating tune called Spasmatica Polka. Which was just a free track that we found, and and Gareth just loved kind of stitching that together, and then he got ridiculous. Like towards the end, it was suddenly like clips from Armageddon, where like Liv Tyler sort of crying at the monitor, and it's the prance playing on the monitor. It just got stupider and stupider. Matrix in the architect's office, and it's just the prance playing behind him. That sort of shit. And then to our surprise, Capcom were like, we really like this. Would you like to do it in real life? And we're like, yes, we would. So they had these full-sized a Gore Magala armor and a Palico set as well. And so we had to find suitably small people because they were used for Japanese events, and they were snug, very, very snug little outfits that arrived in these huge crates. Incredible. Like our office was just stacked high with these crates full of stuff. And then, we just took these 2 lovely people out in, sweating to death in these 2 outfits and just got them to do the prance in various parts of London until various members of authority told us to leave. So we just we took a very guerrilla approach. Effectively, like we did it outside Buckingham Palace, we did it in Green Park, we did it in the middle of Piccadilly Circus, we did it in phone booths, we did it all over the shop, and it was great because people were just fascinated by it, and that we got them to there were like groups of students, and there were people from Japan who were like, oh my god, Monster Hunter, they came over and were having photos with them. And so the video became this really fun fusion of the Prance video as it was supposed to be, mixed with all these shots of members of the public getting involved and some of them joining in with the Prance and all sorts of things, and it was just a huge amount of fun. We also got a full-scale Poogie, the sort of pig characters that you get in the game as well, and we built what we called the Poogie board, which was just this like wooden trolley with casters that we were able to push around and sort of mount a camera so you could get like a Poogie. What do they call that sort of camera technique? But you basically have it facing the person and it's like them running around, and the idea was that the Poogie had got lost somewhere in London, and the hunter was trying to find the Poogie, and so we sort of recreated the map that they used to have, in the days when Monster Hunter used to move from zone to zone with a little load screen in between, and we sort of recreated that as the Gormagala was going around hunting for them. So so we managed to just get two really stupid bits of stupid and yet really time and energy intensive bits of a video out of that. Are you okay, Will?
Sorry,
are you all right?
I was pulling up.
Are you having a moment?
A little bit of a moment. I was pulling up the assets, which made me chortle, and then so Sean People just threw in 150 bits to say, video games also have sound. Think about that, and that just broke me a little bit. And for the record, Sean is a very experienced video game creator and is just taking great fun in messing with me. Also, Craig Chaotic, just as a small side note, says, I remember getting to squad up with you back in the day for Battlefield 1943.
Oh, really? Oh, that was great fun, wasn't it? Yeah, I mean, that was the funny thing in the Xbox days. It became this... It was a competition sort of getting my friend list, because you could only have 100 friends, and so it was nuts. The moment your name appeared on the on screen, even if we'd like captured some footage from one of our video guys' things, it was incredible how on the ball people were. Like if they spotted 2 frames where there was a name, they'd pause it and like send a message to that person. The send you a message inbox could only take 100 messages at a time, so it was literally impossible to keep up with the volume of stuff that was coming in. And so it used to be a sort of badge of honor for people if they actually managed to join a game with us at some point. We had like lunchtime sessions of Battlefield and things like that. It's mental. I mean, nobody wants to play a game with me now. It's awful. But it's brilliant. I love it. I love the sort of lapse back into anonymity. But funnily enough, as a result of that, and this is segues, it's the cyclical nature of things. Yeah, that was where Explosive Alan came about. We needed to create a dummy account to stop our accounts and other people's accounts appearing on screen. And I don't know if you remember that when you created an account on Xbox Live, if you couldn't think of a name, there was basically like a name lottery. You could just press a button and it would just spin and 2 random words would come up. And Explosive Alan were the 2 words that came up. And that's we laughed our heads off when that came up. Like Explosive Alan, brilliant. That's gonna be the guy who's on all the Xbox videos now. So we stuck with Explosive Alan, and then when we were starting the company up and we were trying to come up with a name for it, one of us just said it, and we were like, yeah. It makes no sense. It makes no sense. It gives you no indication of what it is we do, but I don't think you'll forget it. And so I think that was the most important part of it. It was like, we could be called One Up Mushroom Productions or something. We didn't necessarily want to pigeonhole ourselves as gaming video production, because we just didn't know what the future was going to hold.
Yeah.
But we also felt that it had a gamey quality to it, like it could have been a character in something. You know, and in the early days when we crowdfunded the business, we were really lucky to have Will Overton, who's the legendary cover artist the artist for the whole magazine for Superplay, which is a real influential Super Nintendo magazine back in my teens. And I got in touch with him, and he did a free design for a print that we gave away for our crowdfunding campaign, which almost, you know, imagined him as a game character. And it's, to this day, we still use it as the art for our podcast because it's exceptional. It's an exceptional piece of work. So yeah, that's the sort of roundabout way of explaining where the name came from, even though you didn't even ask.
No, that was a funky little story, and I do remember those
There you
old
go.
days. It used to be a very big badge of honor because in random lobbies on Xbox Live, if you got someone famous in your lobby, oh, that was a big deal.
Oh yeah.
So jumping back into chat, so Chicken Handbag, Watto, Chicken Handbag got an odd question, and I don't know if this is a loaded one or if this is just an interesting one. What's the weirdest thing Jim Chesina's ever said to you?
The weirdest thing who said to me?
Jim, used to be over at Video Gamer. I can never pronounce his surname.
The weirdest thing? Oh God.
Also, Zenro, thank you for that.
It's not so much the weirdest thing, but the most sort of uncomfortable thing he ever said to me was I think we're at E3. He was absolutely off his tits on booze, basically. He was pissed, and he just shouted. This was after, you know, the breakup with Outside Xbox and Explosive Alan, and it was like just shouted. In a sort of outside the what's the place? The Saddle Ranch, the terrible bar where everyone, all the game journos gather in LA, hellhole. Outside is going. So.
Oh, and that's the point. We lose Dan on the connection. Fuck.
That's weird.
All right.
Am I still on?
We can hear you again, but we can't see you, dude. Cliffhanger
What
mode.
happened? Cliffhanger.
Okay.
But yeah, it was just weirdly confrontational. And I was like, no, of course I don't. But I was just, you know, caught in the headlights kind of thing. Because
so we missed the hook there. Also, friends, the Saddle Ranch is a terrible, like, faux American bar in LA.
What did he say, though?
Yeah,
where people go to watch drunk women ride on a mechanical bull.
And for some reason, all the games industry PR crowd love that place. Don't ask me why. And it's a hell.
Do you know what it is? It's because they're sorely lacking in imagination. You're in a city as big as Los Angeles, and you go, let's all go to the same place every time.
Yes, and Sean, thank you for the 200 bits. So, what was the thing he said? Because Dude, you couldn't have timed it any better. It just cut off right as you were about to say the thing.
What did he say? He goes, he was like, do you hate Andy Farrett then or what? You know, just like that. And I was like, oh shit. No. It was just, but it was so awkward. It was just in front of everyone, and there'd been no sort of official explanation of why we went our separate ways, or you know, he went off to do Outside Xbox and I didn't, and why I did Explosive Alan. And so everyone assumed that it would just been this like massive bust up, but it was sort of an unspoken thing because Andy's a very private guy. And yeah, he just absolutely just put me on the spot in front of about 30 of my peers. And I remember I went to, I think it was the Games Media Awards a while later, and he was just outside just going, Dan, I'm so sorry.
Yes.
And then he got pissed again and said something equally disgusting to me later. But you know, that's him.
Oh, I'm a little bit jealous because I've always been orbiting Jim. I don't know him. I met him once during the day at EGX Rezzed, but I don't know him. Like, he knows so many people that I know, and I get a little bit worried that if during his heyday and my heyday we'd gotten drinking together, then I'd probably have a lifetime ban from the entire industry.
he is like, I think there's a Jekyll and Hyde element to him, but like, because every time I've met him, just sort of one to one, we bumped into each other at a train station or something like that. He's just the loveliest guy. He's so nice, he's so intelligent, he's so thoughtful, but he's able to tap into that other side of him when he's on camera, which is just outrageous. But yeah, he's fantastic, and what him and Steve have done with Special Gun as well, they've done some great little bits. If you haven't seen the Resident Evil 2 video they did for Capcom, that's unbelievable. That's so good.
Well, it's one of those interesting things of like basically this squad of games industry mercenaries who create great assets for other people, that there's all these orbiting bodies, and I can only comment on the ones in the UK and some of the like the animation houses, because they create these incredible assets but do it for other people, so you'd never know the team behind the scenes making this stuff happen, which is kind of another great reason why I wanted to have you on the show and talk to you today, because this is a part of the industry, and if we're being real honest, it's more likely that any of these lovely people would need your services than would have the resources to start up an internal asset team. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely. And funny enough, some of our biggest clients are the ones who do have internal asset teams, but it's almost like there's too much red tape internally. And in some cases, they've told us you're actually cheaper than using our in-house resources as well. Yep. That's explosiveallen.com. So, I'm
about to say, I didn't know where to push people to today, because, I mean, mate, we're all working these days. Like... So I've dropped you a link
where to push people. I mean, I've been horrendously lazy in terms of the self-promotion track. I think when I got into Explosive Allen, we started off having these ideals of like, let's be sort of half a commercial production outfit, but half community facing. And we tried it. And, inevitably, you can't commit to both. It just doesn't work out that way. And we were of an age where we had to go towards what was making the money rather than playing the long game. And people were like, well, Outside Xbox started a YouTube channel, look at them now. And it's like, well, they did, but with the backing of Gamer Network, who gave them a big financial injection and a regular salary to start with, who had a very rough first year, unfortunately, suddenly hit that critical mass point that happens with YouTube, where suddenly you just escalate and the figures just shoot up.
Indeed.
And now they are like,
and that's not
absolute
a commentary
YouTube
on,
royalty.
That's not a commentary on Andy or Andy's team. It's just like Outside Xbox was started, in my humble opinion, after the great YouTube land rush, and so without the backing of a major company, you're just not going to make it. And
no, I mean, Mike, Jane, and Andy had all come from, decent paying jobs. They weren't all simultaneously about to just jump ship if there wasn't some financial stability at the back of it. It's absolutely not a criticism of them at all.
Yeah.
It's the ideal way to start a YouTube channel, in my opinion. It was just that my opinion of Xbox had taken a nosedive, not because of being made redundant by them, but because of their approach to the dashboard, what they've done to the dashboard, and how they were starting to promote games. And as we know, only a few years after that was when we had the infamous Xbox E3 TV Call of Duty presentation, when Don Matrick had sent them in that direction, and you could see that was where it was going. They buried us to start with, then they let us go. Then they became way more like, we need to be the media company, not the games company, and they'd sort of gone in that direction.
And I was like, because I think this is an important
on.
point for people that weren't there. See, what happened was before Inside Xbox Sent Your Message was shut down, there was a big title update to the not just Xbox, but also to a lot of Microsoft products. And this big change also resulted in community content being buried in a menu within a menu. Whereas in the past, it had been part of the dashboard ecosystem proper, much like indie games, it was buried, along with indie games. And so this was where Microsoft lost the lead on both community-focusing content and on like indie titles. and it would be a while before like ID at Xbox programs and things like that started to build that base back up. But yeah, in the space of a summer, they hamstrung two very core parts of the Xbox Live ecosystem that were doing very well. And all of us were like, wait, why would you kill that? What's working? But as you were saying, it's because Don Matrick, he's got a hat trick, has... Sorry, I miss him doing E3 because he was the best to rip the piss out of.
Your guaranteed annual car crash, yeah.
Yep. But yeah, and their move was into, because they thought the industry was moving towards like original television programming and all of this. Turned out we just wanted Netflix and being able to watch TV shows all at once rather than once a week.
Yeah.
And one other little interruption before I continue, that Chicken Handbag is Matt, ex-loading bar.
Oh, hey.
I missed the loading bar.
Not pillow fort Matt. Different Matt. Maybe. Anyway.
Oh yeah, no, Chicken Handbag. It's definitely that Matt.
There you go. Didn't we also meet at an NJPW event? We had a good chat there, didn't we? Outside Four Quarters.
Oh God.
Oh, I'm getting people mixed up, which I do because I'm old.
No, once again, you are batting 5 for 5. Chicken Handbag says we feckin' did, what a night.
It was a really, really good night. Awesome. Cool, Matt. Thanks for watching, man. Good to have you on.
I will say, while I am spoilt for, well, when the world's open, I'm spoilt for good, like, nerdy bars in Seattle. I miss loading. I miss Four Quarters.
I love Seattle, though. I've had some excellent nights out there. There are a few, like, really good eggs in the Redmond team. You know, everything you think Microsoft Redmond is going to be, it is, and then you find the outliers. And what was funny is, if I was there to sort of meet with my bosses and whatnot, they were the ones that walk past and go, "Oh my God, send you a message." They'd be like the guys who just like, you're like, "Oh shit, it's got over here, it's reached it." And then they were the ones who were like, "Do you want to go for a beer after this?" And you were like, "Yes, mate, yes." Yeah, and I remember one of them took me to some strange goth bar where we watched like a Bauhaus cover band. Yeah, it was wicked, man.
Don't tell me it was the Mercury.
It might have been the Mercury, but to be honest, I was very many drinks in. I always have weird encounters. I love what I love doing when I go to other countries, especially if I'm on my own, which I was a lot of the time in Seattle, is I just like going to bars and sitting at the bar, because Americans just love to strike up conversation, and I always ended up talking to some of the maddest people, both in LA and Seattle. I once spoke to John Legend's keyboard player, I think it was.
Okay.
Just at a bar. It was just a bar opposite my hotel. I was like, "Oh yeah, why are you in town, man?" I was just like explaining what about you? I was like, "Oh yeah, I'm John Legend's keyboard player. I've just got a gig tonight." Like, awesome. Same thing happened to me in Amsterdam. I went to a karaoke bar because we were shooting at Guerrilla Games. I went to a karaoke bar, which is always my first sort of port of call whenever I go to another country.
Oh my word! Sorry.
And this lady next to me just started singing, and she had like pipes, and I was like, "Oh, why are you here?" She was like, "Oh, I'm a backing singer for the Rolling Stones."
Okay.
And I was like, "You what?" And she was just like, "Oh yeah." And so we got talking, and then she was like, "Oh yeah, do you want to get backstage tickets for tomorrow night?" And I was like, "I can't. I've got to
celebrate 3 hands
tomorrow."
in the air.
And I was like,
celebrate,
"I know that sounds really on rock and roll and tragic,
3
but
hands in the air.
yeah, I was just like, I've got to get back. I'm really sorry, but it's amazing what happens if you go to a strange place. Just go and sit at a bar and see who ends up talking to you."
Well, so I just had a whole bunch of flashbacks once. So very quickly, Stringer, please, how are you doing? See you on Saturday. And there are good nerdy bars in Seattle. Does it come with sauce? Thank you for the sub. Bacon Avenger, thank you for gifting Chicken Handbag a sub. And I remembered where it was that you and I finally actually had a proper conversation. It was the Saints Row the Third Party in Cologne.
Oh God! Yes, with the bath of money.
With the bath of money. And that awful off-brand energy drink that was meant to be the in-universe one.
Yeah.
Oh God.
That was awesome. That was so good.
I've not had an ostentatious pre-launch party like that to that same caliber since.
No. Were you at CA at the time?
Yes. We were. It was my first Gamescom, so we were doing like stage demos. Man, that was the year they didn't give us a stage monitor, so I screamed myself hoarse because I couldn't tell how loud I was on the mic. Like I physically couldn't make sound by the end of Gamescom. It was a fucking trip.
That's ridiculous. Who was it that ended up in the? Was it you, Binen, or someone who ended up actually in the bath?
Oh, I definitely ended up in the bath, and then
You ended up in the bath.
There were several people on top of me for a bit. Dude, I found Johnny Gat dollars in my pockets, shoes, hoodie, my bag. I don't even know how they got into my bag. My bag wasn't with me. Oh, but no, that was a special time. I think that was where I think like Lucy James and that squad was still at GameStar. They are still at GameStar, aren't they? Yeah, but
yeah, it was that sort of era of Gamescom was just immense, and you know, not in the ways that I think the whole Gamergate people got into a whole kerfuffle about. It was just really fun. You know, no one was doing it and then going, oh great, I'm going to give Saints Row 3 a 9 out of 10. You know, you go to a Saints Row party, go, oh god, this is actually all quite ostentatious and terrible. Let's go and find a shitty little bar afterwards. And I sort of pride ourselves on finding this one bar that was open in the side streets of Cologne at like 2 a.m. And then that became the sort of year on year the regular haunt for us to end up in.
Oh yeah, dude, the first time I went was you, Big Suze. It was you, me, Big Suze, and Craig, and Becky. That was the Jaeger bomb that was like a half pint of Jägermeister and a splash of Red Bull. That was when I knew fear. I watched a man cuddle a Corona beer and just softly pour it onto himself as he just curled forward. He never fell off his stool. He just curled around that bottle and just poured it on himself ever so softly.
Your memories of this are commendably lucid, to be fair.
I've told these stories because they are glorious captions, but I do think you hit upon a good thing. And I know it wasn't one of the initial topics, but like, yes, there is this interweaving between like games journalism, games media, and games developers, but it's not like back in the Virgin Interactive days of the 90s where they'd be like, here's a brown envelope, Cool Spot gets a perfect score, and someone would go, yes.
Got it. That's the thing, everyone's like, yeah, these journalists are all taking bungs. And it's like, do you know what a games journalist makes? It's like they are not getting bungs, trust me. No, what it was is that anyone in PR who was, you know, a human being, a functional human being, and then any member of the games media who was also a functional human being, tended to get on quite well, because a lot of the time they would be leading around kids. You know, these people who are just kind of sent out for the first time in their early 20s. Man, I've got stories of, there was one guy who'd, he must have been 2021. It was his first press trip. It was one day in, Christ, I can't even remember what country it was. I think it was in Istanbul. And I can't remember what game it was for. And he'd only just started drinking, and he did not know his ceiling. He just did not know where to stop. And he got really sort of chaotic and, you know, got us all sort of booted out of the bar we were in, karaoke incidentally. Then
it always is.
The next day we heard that he just absolutely painted his room.
No.
Absolutely painted his room and had to be sort of dragged out. And then he'd gone to the McDonald's in the airport terminal and bought, I don't know, something that someone with a stomach that delicate just shouldn't eat, and was then insisting on putting it through the conveyor belt to be scanned so he could take it through to departures. And he was blacklisted. Like, that was his first ever press event, and he was immediately blacklisted.
Oh, poor kiddo.
Yeah, you know, that's it. Just, and if you've just been hired by someone, I think it was Stuff or T3. You know, I can't remember the guy's name, but yeah, you know, from an employer's standpoint as well, it's like, oh, that is a lot of red on your ledger, as it were.
Oh,
So
kid.
So yeah, there's a lot of that going down, and so what you start, especially with Susan Becchiati in those days in THQ, is we just used to sort of lead the rest of the journos around and go, come on, let's go and do something different. Let's go and find a different bar. Let's go and find a different restaurant. Let's just let's get out of the fucking, those two Irish bars in Cologne. Again, that's the equivalent of the Saddle Ranch in Germany. Everyone gravitates towards the same fucking bars, and it's just like, come on, you're in a new city. You've got people buying things for you. You're expensing all of your taxis and all of your entertainment. Just explore, show just a fucking iota of imagination. And so I just got sick of it. So every time I used to travel with Ash or Gareth or whatever, we'd just be like, let's just go off and do something. Fuck the Saddle Ranch, just go. And we've got LA is our oyster for like a week. Let's go and see what it's got. And gradually people follow you. We discovered Bar 82 in LA, which was this incredible arcade and pinball bar. And then suddenly people were starting to appear there in the subsequent years. And so word gets around if you experiment and find these other cool places, especially like now that downtown's a lot cooler than it used to be, and there's just so much to do. But yeah, I think the underlying, what I'm trying to say is that it's just people who are able to separate themselves from their professions when the working day is done and realize that they just get on. Yeah. I think you would call them friends. I think that's the colloquial term for it.
I believe it might be, but I'd have to search the wiki article.
Yeah, and obviously, a big part of journalism, whatever school of journalism it is making friends and making those contacts who you can, pick up the phone at any time and have a chat with and talk business, but from a friendly angle. But it was never ever geared around any form of corruption or goading you into doing something as a result of the great meal you had or the great night out you had. It was just making sure that you were having a nice time when you were taken to these other countries, a lot of time because that's where the developers were based, or some other largely practical consideration. But these people are going, they're going off to see this game, and they should go and then stay in a fucking hostel and eat KFC. It's like, well, it's not really how the business works, mate, and it certainly has no bearing on our opinion of the finished product, which we probably won't even see for another 8 months anyway. So it's nonsense.
I will say, as a small side, it's one of the things that I learned from like Big Sue's Becky, from the kind of the generation, I guess, above me before I started being sent out on tours and stuff, was like, always have a little short list of places that you want to go that aren't the standard.
Yes.
Because we had what we used to call the McDonald's rule, which is that if someone says, let's go to McDonald's, you have to be ready with an alternative answer. You can't just say no. And,
that's great.
Stooge was mentioning in chat the Haberdasher, which was a great one we found during a TwitchCon. And TwitchCons aren't really conventions, they're just like oversized meetups and piss-ups. But Stooge found this like speakeasy hidden place around the corner, where, because it was...
what city was this?
This was San Diego. Was it San Diego? San Jose. The year they did San Jose. And it was a whiskey speakeasy, but throughout TwitchCon they did like little video game themed. And one evening it was, it was Mario Land, which at first, like, okay, that's kind of nice. What they did is they hid Goombas around the bar. These little balloons that you had to physically stamp on, and each one had a prize in it, like maybe just some bar snacks, but like the high ones was like a nice glass of whiskey or something. It was great.
I was thinking it could be like a shot glass, and you like break the balloon and shatter the glass in your hands and be like, this song has gone horribly wrong. Yeah.
This was a poorly thought out promotional exclusive. And Stringer, we will definitely do a proper Mox and or nerdy Seattle mission trip when it is safe to do so. The sad one, that just as an aside to an aside, is there was a part 90s bedroom, part pirate ship bar in Seattle called Vidiot. And it was just the strangest shit. Like,
I mean, the way you've described it is already like, those are not two things I would commonly associate.
Yeah, No, it was like someone had just parked a feckin' arse end of a pirate ship in someone's semi-detached house. Sadly, I don't know if it's going to be surviving, but that's another matter. So we've discussed send you a message in the classic years. We've talked about some of the stuff. So how do you see, at least from your standpoint, as the stealthy mercenaries in the background of like the games media sphere, like how do you see things starting to move forward? Like YouTube solidified, Twitch is almost at its peak, like in terms of live streaming. I don't see we're going to have another big explosion on the Twitch platform, and other platforms aren't really managing to garner new ground aside from TikTok, but that's basically because we all missed Vine, let's be bloody honest. How do you see things moving forward from here?
I'm not much of an industry soothsayer in that regard, really, but I think TikTok has definitely hit on something. I know people have gravitated towards that because they miss Vine, but it already seems to be providing more diversity of content than we were maybe used to on Vine. You know, I saw a TV campaign for it the other day, which was purely about the educational aspects of it. You know, Vine learning, and that was a big thing. And you know, something I'd never really considered it. You know, I'm very much like, you know, I'm 40 now, so I saw TikTok and was like, okay, this is not for me. But then Ash, who's always got his finger on the pulse, is now saying like, I love it. I absolutely fucking love TikTok because it learns what I'm into, and over time, what I'm being served is exactly what I want to be seeing. And I was like, okay, that's not at all sinister. But he's really sold it to me in terms of it's the absolute other end, I guess, of what Twitch and YouTube offers, and that's brevity. I think, like personally for me, I was never able to get into YouTube once it got past the old 15-minute limit and things, and they were starting to encourage every video to be 10 minutes long. And so you really got to these things which just sort of go against my sort of instincts as a writer and presenter, which was like I used to make a point with Send You a Message, for example, of rambling on deliberately for something that only had, you know, a release date as an answer. We really ripped the piss out of that at one point because people used to get so frustrated, like, when is so and so game coming out? And they just wanted us to go 26th of September, next question. We never did that. And now I'm just seeing that sort of being taken to the nth degree with this content, where you know, you've got a 4-minute intro, you know, an ad break and something else before you sort of get to the crux of what the supposed, you know, the video is about. And so I'm just like, I haven't got time for this shit. I just need things to get to the point and quickly because I've got my attentions are being pulled in so many different directions, either by my daughter or my household responsibilities or what I want to play or my job or whatever else. And so, you know, I'm not someone who's then going to be trying to seek out content. I very much like things being put in my lap. And so sometimes the idea of a service that does learn and throws things at you that you go, oh, I didn't know that, or that's interesting, or that's a very efficient way of delivering that information, that really appeals to me. And it seems that that's why TikTok, basically, what I find is that humans being the fickle things they are, is that they demand something, then they get it, and then they want the opposite again. So, you know, we want longer form videos. We want to watch all this thing. We're tired of that now. We want videos to be 5 seconds. We want to, you know, digest it in a blink. You know, we want tiny phones. Or now we want huge sort of semi-tablet size phones. There's always like a drive in the opposite. There's always a pull away from whatever, you know, we've established, I guess, before it can become too extreme. It's almost like our way of self-regulating on entertainment is like we almost go too far in one direction. I mean, look, for example, at like bingeable TV.
Yes.
Everyone's like, bingeable TV is the best. and then like Disney Plus does WandaVision once a week, and everyone's like, appointments of you, what is this? I don't understand. Like, I need to be there at a certain time on a day to watch this show, and we're all going to be watching it at the same time, and we can all have the same conversation. It's like, wow, what a revelation. TV as TV has always been. You know, it's just the way that we work. You know, the sort of the vinyl being destroyed by cassettes and CDs due to their convenience and relative size, then to vinyls becoming probably the second or third most popular music medium aside from digital streaming. There's always this sort of, I think companies in particular are always the ones that force change and force evolution. You know, the classic Jurassic Park, you know, should we really have done it in the first place? I can't remember the fucking quote now, but you know what I mean. You know, we should have asked ourselves.
They were so concerned with whether or not they could. They didn't think of whether or not they should.
Exactly.
Sorry, and my mid-thing chuckle was Alnus just going, "Tell me what I need to know." Sure, but first let's hear from our sponsors at Squarespace. Come on.
Exactly. But yeah, it is that Jurassic Park quote in a nutshell. It's like, so often there's this just push towards what's next, what's bigger, what's better, before the wider public has really settled into what the thing is now, and it's not really to the benefit of anyone. And so there's always sort of I always find there's a bit of a backlash at a certain point where people go, hang on, we kind of like that, and over time we sort of gradually pull out those little bits that we still think of fondly and still like, and sort of amalgamate them, so nothing ever becomes, you know, completely dominant. There's always some nostalgia, I guess, where we go, actually there's certain elements of that I've romanticized but actually still enjoy as well.
So actually, here's a fun little question for you on this very subject, is that one of the things we have seen pop up is a taste and a desire for deep dive, not into the thematics of a game, but into its construction and the people that make it. And at first, I think we all thought that NoClip was kind of like a unique channel doing a very specific kind of documentary format. But now we've seen loads of other channels doing these like intense deep dives. I mean, shit, Polygon did a whole asset just on the water shaders in the alcohol bottles in Half-Life Alyx. Like, and okay, I will admit the video they did recently about rigging and skeletal animation was just an excuse to talk about Resident Evil 8 and Capcom's new apparent mascot, the 9-foot vampire lady.
Lady Dimitrescu, yes.
Lady Dimitrescu, who I've noticed that any article now about Capcom features a picture of her. Like, Ryu's gone. Even GamesIndustry.biz is now using her instead of any other picture.
Mega Man who?
Right? No, it's Big Lady.
They should call her Mega Mom.
Hey!
There you go. You heard it here first. Yeah. I think, but that's also part of. It's out of necessity in many ways as well. Like, part of why new channels have to innovate or go increasingly niche is because there is just so much choice now that if you don't specialize and then specialize within your speciality, it's really hard to be heard among the noise. And then when you've got the quality and the pedigree to back that up, obviously with NoClip, you know, Danny O'Dwyer was just doing awesome work for GameSpot. I don't think they'll necessarily ever get the likes of him again. And he's just really brought his own style, his great writing, and just the great relationships that he's able to forge with these devs as well.
Yes.
And has really just done his own thing. And then there are other channels like that. Game Maker's Toolkit comes to mind.
Yes.
Which I think is, again, just fantastic. Really reminds me of, I guess, the equivalent of like Mark Cousins and people like that who used to do the sort of film documentaries on BBC Two. It's kind of delivered with that same sort of calm, measured tone, but also beautifully eloquent, really well observed, really insightful, to the point where devs are going, oh my god, someone's paying attention. You know, they really feel it, that someone's noticed the little details, the little cadences, the little rhythms that they've introduced into their games, and someone's calling it out in a way that really goes against the grain of the sort of broad, brash fanboy analysis that really typifies most YouTube content, you know, which is typically also in the negative space, which is everything wrong with and stuff like that, or angry gamer, furious gamer, grumpy gamer, you know, it's all you know, impotent male energy type shit. Whereas what you've got with like No Clip and Game Maker's Toolkit is stuff that celebrates the art and celebrates the medium. And I you know, I really laud that stuff, because it's just, that's how we should be with the industry. It should be like, these are fucking miracles. Like, every game you play is an absolute fucking miracle, whether it's absolutely god awful or, you know, the best thing you've ever played. It's sort of the product of people crunching ones and zeros, and somehow that happens. You know, how can you? What was I playing the other day? I'm playing like Monster Hunter Rise at the moment, as everyone is. Yeah. And it's just fucking magic, you know. And you sometimes people don't pay attention anymore. They're too busy getting into the sort of the nuts and bolts of what it is, and how much content has it got, how much content has the game got, any content, you know. They're not really thinking about the artistry, the creativity, the number of complex systems that are all at work and working together, and on top of that, all the little bits of attention to detail and thought that's gone into it, you know, right down to the way that menus operate and the way that things interlink and shit like that is just so complex and convoluted, and the product of just like iterative design over multiple generations and multiple versions of games. Just, you know, vast amounts of work that requires so much more talent and patience than I could ever, you know, dedicate to anything. And you just sometimes have to sit back in awe. And now we've got these channels that really just fucking hit the nail on the head in terms of why does that game resonate? What is it about the feel of it and you know, the fabric of it, the texture of it, that makes that game so great, so compelling? You know, I love No Clip getting into Hades, which was like absolutely no questions asked my game of the year last year.
And that was a hell of a smart play on everyone's point.
Yeah.
So there was a couple of interesting points that I wanted to bring to you. So firstly, Chicken Handbag was talking about the interaction between review coverage and things like streaming services or things like Game Pass, which remove a large amount of barriers to entry. Like, you don't need to necessarily spend $60 on a AAA title if it's going to be coming something like Game Pass. So it removes the requirement for reviews to be a barometer of, not a barometer. It removes reviews from being part of the purchasing decision. Lots of thirst for for the big lady, and Stringer Please nearly got a spit take out of "Yes, Mega Man, ooh woo." That was nearly coffee at the screen. Imperios is just singing "Giant Woman." But also mentioning New Frame Plus, which is a series that just goes into animation in games. Also, beautiful. Chicken Handbag mentioning People Make Games. I mean...
Yes, People Make Games. Yes, that was the other one I was thinking of. It's Chris, isn't it?
Yeah.
Formerly Video Gamer and Eurogamer. The Frame one, is that the one that did the really great analysis of Arc Systems beat-em-ups and the techniques they use to do the animations in like Dragon Ball Fighters and...
Hells yeah.
And Guilty Gear. If that's the one, yeah.
Recently did the evolution of the animation of Sonic and what each game's animation actually speaks to, which was fascinating. It also made me having to begrudgingly admit that while a game that I've had a troubled past with, that Shadow the Hedgehog actually has some of the best animation in the series, upset me.
Okay.
I mean, he's right, but it upset me. And yeah, just Alice with the we tricked a rock to think. That's entertainment. Because we had Mikey Newman, who used to be Gearbox, now does movies with Mikey. And he echoed a lot of your sentiments, which is video games are a feckin' miracle. They shouldn't exist. And yet somehow we've turned lightning into, like, explodey, shooty, gun bang experiences. Yeah, Caffeine, reset the clock. I mentioned movies with Mikey. I couldn't agree with the stuff you're saying more. It's different for myself in this space because I have these conversations live. So like we've been playing Control once a week for a few weeks, and the first day we spent like 6 hours just breaking down like the environmental storytelling inside the oldest house. And like we're talking to like even looking at the posters and the feckin' post-it notes, not the post-it note room, but and what it does and how it tells that. And I have also put my hand up and said that I unfairly judged that game and Quantum Break, so I need to go back and do Quantum Break to admit my failings on that one. But that's not a story.
Well, I don't know. I don't rate Quantum Break, but I think Quantum Break was a product of folly because it was clearly influenced by Microsoft's motivations at the time. But in some ways, it feels like it's a necessary gateway that made Control happen. I think there are learnings from Quantum Break that have gone into Control that make that, I think, by far the best thing that Remedy have ever made. I think they've always been capable of something great, and I've always felt that there's always been something lacking from a depth standpoint. Like Alan Wake was fundamentally the same game, just repeated over and over again. It was like get flashlight, get guns, lose guns, get guns again, lose guns, get guns again, and it never really switched up in terms of the mechanic of shining the light and shooting. You know, that was really just the rhythm, and it wasn't quite.
And aside from the final act, it does follow exactly the same structure as Twin Peaks. Like if you just replace the red room with the feckin' bunk, the log cabin in the lake.
Yes.
Those two out, except for the log lady is now the lamp lady. There's the important difference there. But it was still incredibly well made. But Control is, dude, it's
just right. You know, they've got it right. Like you say, environmental storytelling, fantastic. Visually, spectacular. The
use of live action actors in a way that not only feels in universe but grounds it rather than pulls you out of it. Like.
Well, do you know what? I'm watching a show at the moment on Netflix with my daughter called Waffles and Mochi. It's about a creature that's half waffle, half yeti, and a little mochi ball with a face. And they work at a supermarket that's run by Michelle Obama.
Of course.
Yes, and they go off and fly in this sort of semi-magical flying car stroke shopping trolley to learn about food all over the world. And what's funny is it's mainly puppetry and it's really charming, but there are certain moments. There was a scene in the last episode where they have to go across this rickety bridge, and then when they pull out, it's just a crappy little model of them in the thing just like bouncing over the bridge. And it's been such an accepted thing for TV and film to do for so long, to mix its media in that way, sometimes to comic effect, but sometimes really effectively to sometimes just cover up shortcomings or things they're not able to do. And I think more games need to do what Control does, which is, like, as you say, they integrate FMV elements without it feeling too jarring. It feels really natural, but it's just like, I see why they did that, because there's just certain there's just certain things that you're able to integrate into the game without necessarily affecting the performance of the game itself, which is already doing a lot, forcing GPUs to do a lot of heavy lifting. And then just basically playing a video over the top that just doesn't look too far removed. It's noticeably removed from the quality of the in-game character assets, but not enough to sort of take you out of it and go, okay, I kind of get why they're doing that. And it's a really, really clever little technique they've done. Whereas with Quantum Break, it was very much like, here's the game and now here's the show, and it was all very quite poorly integrated and incredibly jarring.
Control does a lot of things that are very simple when you say them out loud, but things like you'll be shown a video in the environment, but if you then go rewatch it via the menu systems, there's additional content or details that you can pick up. Now, there's a couple of comments that I wanted to pick up on, because Stringer Please was mentioning a tweet they saw the other day about, and I quote, "Remember how someone said that guns were the only way to breed agency in games? And now a whole video game can be about blowing a kiss to a dog." Like, I love that. And also, you can tell in chat those that have kids and those that do not. Because I'm in the don't have kids category, and I'm like, cool, you just described to me a full-on fever dream. And those that have kids are like, no, that show makes sense.
It's wonderful. Like there's a few shows where I'm like, even if you don't have kids, just give them a watch. I would definitely recommend Hey Dougie. I would definitely recommend Waffles and Mochi, and I would definitely recommend Hilda on Netflix if you've not watched that either.
Yes. But I am going to write down Waffles and Mochi.
It's I mean it's exec produced by the Obamas. So yeah, just the fact that Michelle Obama. Yeah.
Didn't know that.
Yeah, Zach Galifianakis just showed up in the most recent episode as just a guy who works at the supermarket. It's brilliant. They travel to Japan and Peru and Italy, and they meet, chefs, proper, Michelin-starred chefs, and it's just a great way of promoting like multiculturalism, loads, through food, and also not patronizing. Being patronizing to kids and not condescending them. It just talks, very cleverly and funnily about food and the making of food and the source of food with, people who are just game. And it really has that Sesame Street vibe when the characters manage to get like these sort of top tier figures in the cooking world to sort of engage with puppets. It's really funny.
I'm over here, and the last show that I watched, even vaguely in that vein, was about red blood cells in the body of someone who is a stressed, overworking alcoholic. So
was that Osmosis Jones?
No, Cells at Work Black.
Oh right.
So Cells at Black is like Osmosis Jones anime. And then Cells at Work Black is if you took that whole setup and put it inside someone who overworks, drinks, and smokes, and how their body is basically like this torn down war zone.
Amazing.
It's great. Sorry, just sharing random stuff.
No, great. I love it.
But no, it was just the thing that Stringer Please was talking about and referencing things like Spiritfarer, which is a non-combative game about, about helping animals pass on. Our friend is going to be releasing a game called An Airport for Aliens currently run by dogs, which is just that. You have to get to your the love of your life across the galaxy, and you have to take a series of alien airports from planet to planet, but you don't speak the language. However, all these airports are staffed entirely by stock photos of dogs. And so you talk to them, and they help you just decipher your alien ticket and chat to you, and it's gloriously silly, but
that's fantastic.
The medium has moved past the point where we're discussing the different weapons in which you can use to eviscerate a person. That's not.
Yeah.
And the reason why I wanted to highlight on that one was, I guess, going back to also what Chicken Handbag was saying about the variety and access of games we have. Like, yesterday we played Everhood, where you play a wooden doll trying to find your missing arm, and that instead of battles, you have like almost.
Is that the rhythm action combat one?
Yeah, well, it's avoidance but with additional moves, and they use like a rhythm game, but don't get hit by the beats rather than hit the beat.
Nice.
Maneuver.
Okay.
Very visually evocative of Guitar Hero. If Guitar Hero was produced inside the Over the Garden Wall universe on Psychotropics.
That's awesome.
And like at one point during the game, you go into a D&D game inside the game with the. It's just brilliant. Sorry, I'm very obsessed with this game right now. I played it yesterday.
That's awesome. It sounds very much up my alley. I was about to say, obviously, The Outer Wilds as well was another great example.
Oh God, yes. That's a game that will stay with me until I die.
Yeah, like combat free. Oh, and then What Remains. What's it called? Edith Finch.
What Remains of Edith Finch?
It is What Remains of Edith Finch. Yeah, I mean that is one of the few games where I've gone. I've got to preserve this because I've got to show it to my kids. I hold it up there with some of the best literature I've read or the best films I've seen, as in terms of like the power of storytelling. And very rarely does a game really hit that for me. I'm very rarely sort of like, oh my god. What a game. So yeah, but yeah, returning to Spiritfarer, and what a shout. I mean, that's a game that's really enchanted my daughter. She's 5, and she plays it with me. And I think the first time I took one of the animals to the gate, she sort of got it. She was like, oh, she got really upset.
Aw.
And then she kind of saw that it became a constellation, and was just like, oh wow. I was like, that's it. It was like they're leaving this, but they're becoming part of the stars now. You know, it really. What I love is it sold the sort of spirituality of death while completely avoiding religion. So that's brilliant in my book. And there's elements to it that, you know, usually when I'm playing games, I sort of read the dialogue to it. And what I like is that I don't need to read the dialogue, and some of that does get quite adult, and you're dealing with some other themes within that are very difficult to explain, such as, I think it's the hedgehog that has dementia. I believe it's the hedgehog character that has dementia, and you know is forgetting things and thinks you're her daughter and various other bits before you take it to the gate. You know, which are just absolutely heartbreaking. But what's important is that I can get that part out of it, and my daughter, who's very much at that age where you start to become aware of the cycle of life and death, it's really done a great job of introducing her to that concept in a way that doesn't shy away from the fact that it's very sad and that grief is a real thing, but also puts a sort of a magical bent on it that makes it feel I don't know, I can't quite find the word for it, but it just makes it feel less hard to take and less final. I think the word is that it's not the end, without going, by the way, there's spirits obviously, but it's not, there's ghosts and all this kind of stuff. It's very much like it's their time, it's just time to go. And it's beautiful. It's such a wonderful game.
I would have loved to have had that kind of stuff at that age. That probably would have saved me years.
I feel like that about
years of
I feel like that about everything I watch right now. The things I watch and go, my God, like kids. People think because they've got instant access to everything, it's going to make them dumber. It's like, nah, man. The kids are savvy. Things like Waffles and Mochi, things like Storybots, things like Hey Dougie. Hey Dougie has episodes that teach you about philosophy, about democracy. You know, my 5-year-old understands these concepts now because of a comedy, you know, dog.
I'm not sure I understand those concepts. You know what I'm saying?
Well,
like...
precisely. And that's why they're worth watching, because it makes these things so accessible and boils them down to their essentials so brilliantly. And I really love that games are exploring those spaces too. And as you say, moving away from.
Fucking timing. Moving away from. Boo.
I'm coming back.
You're coming back.
I don't know why it's doing that. It's obviously got some weird timeout thing.
Probably. It's just
moving away from that.
The comedic timing of both of your cuts has been so on point.
It's been fantastic, hasn't it? What I was going to say is hardcore fucking. No. Going back to. I didn't want to disappoint. Going back to blowing kisses to dogs and hugging. Hugging as agency. What a wonderful concept. What a wonderful era of gaming we live in now.
Sorry, everyone's like, we lost Dan, bye Dan, and then Alice is like, I can still hear him. It's like he's still here with us.
It's so on topic.
Oh god, yeah. Aperios was just mentioning that in that sphere, they're still waiting for a non-directly combative or emulation of combat esport to take off. Esports are their own weird creature. You can make a game, but an esport is, I don't know, it feels like an entity that births itself into life, you know? If you'd asked Tiny Me which games were going to become sports, I would have guessed none of them.
Yeah, it's true, isn't it? I mean, well, you know, it's a bit trite because it's obvious, but FIFA, it's not
fair.
You know, it's an example, but that's because it's a sport. But that's it. We there is a tendency with gaming versions of sports go, it's the future, and now there are swords. But Rocket League, there's another great example. You know, completely non-violent, cracking fun, and even great if you're not into football. But yeah, I think there are definitely competitive games where we should look at other means of putting it past an opponent. You know, what can you do better than someone else?
Now, one of the ones we've encountered recently was Bravery Network Online, which plays like okay, so the gameplay is like competitive Pokemon. So like it's all about using elemental damages and character swap outs and fake outs. But it's a combination. What is it? It's like you can do magical, physical, or emotional damage to your opponent.
Ooh.
So like you can compliment someone, which will give them which will emotionally damage certain characters because they're weak to that. Because some people can't handle being complimented. I know I'm one of them. Like,
now I know your weakness.
But also things like
I could say you're looking wonderful today.
Don't you start. But things like you can bribe someone by offering them a free lunch. And the more you offer them a free lunch, the hungrier they become, and it's represented as like a damage over time. But the actual mechanics of it is one person inviting another out to lunch. It's like they took the most of the combat elements out of that RPG. It's worth looking at because style-wise, it's awesome, and it's
interesting because it's like, you know, you kind of steered away from physical violence and moved into emotional cruelty instead.
Yeah. I realized as I got halfway through that descriptor that it wasn't better, in some cases worse.
You're just like, this is really mean. It's just a game about being a dick to someone else until they give up.
But you're not punching someone in the gabber, so that's fine. But also, it plays like tournament level Pokemon, but without the leveling system. So you choose your characters and their abilities, but you don't have to level these characters. You just pick their loadouts and their lineup. It's fascinating. Yeah, Vanderbeek's hot.
I would love
over time.
I would love something, you know, similar to, if not Jackbox party pack games, to go into that, where, you know, you turn them into these mass audience participation events.
Yes.
So, you know, the measure of whether you're a great player is actually your ability to respond to basically being able to improvise on the spot in terms of your comedy. You know, so it's almost like you go to a stand-up gig, but it's competitive. You know,
sadly,
where you've got
the game that tried to do that was a bit of a fail, but
yeah,
they never should have done open matchmaking. Who thought that was a good idea?
No, but that's what I'm saying. Like, as an esport, it'd be amazing if you basically got like professional comedians or something, you know, suddenly being considered athletes, and then when you go to these arena gigs, and it's not so much one person is doing a stand-up routine, you basically got 4 people trying to do it simultaneously, and the audience is deciding who's the funniest. You know, and then doing that over a variety of, you know, match types or whatever else. Because I love having a few games of like Jackbox. You know, that's been great for socializing with non-gaming friends over this pandemic. But I don't know. I am obviously just fucking spitballing here because I don't really know the answer to the question. But that seems to me as another really funny way of fighting without fighting.
Just as a quick aside, that is one of the things what I love about doing this, and why I love having these discussions, because we are in an industry that's still evolving so quickly. I mean, and I know it's been nearly 10 years since you left Xbox, but like 10 years in the film industry has seen the landscape shift and change, certainly. But if you look at how drastically things have changed in gaming comparable to other art mediums, like, holy shit!
Yeah, you know, a lot of it's to do with the tools, you know, the demystification of game development, thanks to things like Unity, just taking away just some of those vital barriers to being able to create something, even stuff like Twine, you know, it's just things that just allow people to explore their creativity outside of the expected track, you know, being able to tell stories in the way where you know, effectively sort of text adventure stroke visual novel execution, or just being able to build very simple things and just have a play. They're just not things that were necessarily possible before. You know, you could get these sort of shoot 'em up construction kit that you used to get on the Commodore 64 or whatever, but nothing was ever, you know, robust enough to really then start to build a career out of it.
Sorry
but
to
now,
interrupt you, and I do
go
apologize
for it.
this.
Sorry.
Dan, can you see chat from where you're at? Can you see the
Can I
Twitch
see chat from where I'm at? I cannot, because I basically got your Twitch thing running in a small
in a
sub
tiny
window.
Okay.
Hang on. So why is something being said?
No. What I was going to do was invite these lovely Mother Hubbards to do a quick fire round of questions with your good self.
Oh, here you go. Here you go. I've knocked it into full screen, so obviously there's the little delay, but I've got it full screen now. So
that's entirely
yeah,
fine. So I'd like to invite quick fire question round because Fiona, my partner, made me a monstrous latte, which was lovely and delicious. But now I'm like 2 pints of coffee in, and I desperately have to pee.
Oh, I see. So you're palming your audience off to me while you piss. Okay.
Look, you work with what you've got, dude. You know how it works.
No, it's fine. It's fine.
All right. So, quick fire question rounds with Dan while Will rushes to the loo. I'll be back in a second.
I might just be sat here in silence for 5 minutes. I think I might be sat here in silence. Oh, here we go. Have you played Depth? Will plays it with a crew. It's fun. No, I haven't. Tell me more about Depth. Cake or pie? Oh, cake. Always cake. I don't know. It depends. It depends if you're talking the American version of pie. Because obviously the British interpretation of pie is usually something with a meat filling. What do you call the bread you put fillings in? Slice not included. Oh, I see. Do I call it like a bap or a roll? I think I call them baps. Don't know if that's just because it's the filthiest. Where I'm from, the Midlands, they call them cobs, which I find weird, but I've always called them baps. What if you drink alcohol is your preferred beer, whiskey, cocktail? Ooh, whiskey, I really enjoy. Yamazaki 12 is one of my favorites, and I also like the gin that they've just put out. The Suntory Gin Rocky Gin is really good, and I like rum as well. Ronza Kappa rum is very awesome. What's the worst? What's the worst best breakfast? Best breakfast is one I made recently, which was basically just a breakfast tortilla. So effectively made like an omelet and sausages and everything else, and then I just piled it into a tube and had a sort of tube-based fry-up. Favorite digestive, the caramel ones, the caramel chocolate digestive, 100%. Shark V Diver sounds awesome. Bread cakes or barm cakes if you're from the north. Teeling small batch, I will try that. Who in your household is it? Dishwashing czar? Who's what is absolute and who opposes them from the east? I am the dishwashing czar, and I face no opposition because my wife has no interest in helping me with the washing up. Favorite game controller? Favorite game controller? I've got to say, even though it's early days, the DualSense. Hello.
Okay.
Hello. My goodness me. What a wonderful bit of kit. That one has got my daughter entranced. Little side note, I provided all the copy, or most of the copy that you see in Astro's Playroom, the game that's bundled with
nice.
the PS5. Yeah. So all the one-liners that you get when you collect the PlayStation hardware, that's most of those written by me. The messages you get, like in terms of time attacks and stuff, all me. But it's taken me 4 months to get a PlayStation 5. So I only started playing it about a week ago. My daughter's like, can I hold it? Can I hold it again? Can I do it? I mean, it's a great controller. It's incredibly comfortable. And the haptics and the adaptive triggers, I mean, fuck me, the adaptive triggers take shooters to another level. They're just that added level of connection with the game. And Astro's Playroom is such an incredible showcase for the potential of that controller. I really hope that devs don't do what they've done with Nintendo hardware and just ignore the magic of that controller. Most underrated and most overrated handheld platform game. Why handheld specifically? That's weird. I can't even remember any handheld platform games. Do Switch games count? Anyway, remind me. Sorry, ask questions of my boss for my job, so I can do this for hours. It's fine. What is the worst classic console and why is the N64?
Oh, Satan, why are you gonna hurt us like this?
Mean. You seem to have neglected the Atari Jaguar there, but I won't hold it against you.
Oh, what are you talking about? With the big chunky pad with the lock-in clicker buttons? God, that was so bad.
Awful. Yeah, Astros player.
Trigger, objection.
Yeah, definitely. Yes, lean the witness. Fantastic. Overruled. Astros Playroom is one of the best things that could have dropped on PS5. Yes, it's about time they did a packing game that was just like, here's what the hardware can do.
Yes.
Depth, is that PC?
Yes.
Okay, I'm not a huge PC gamer. I don't even know if my poor little laptop can handle it, but I'd love to give it a go. Under what circumstances would you sell your grandmother to strangers? Sort of very desperate, post-apocalyptic ones, I imagine.
I mean,
only if they agree to eat all of her.
I say my grandparents have been gone for a while, so you're honestly just looking at bones.
Is the answer different? What was the original question? Wait, consoles and NES are considered classic. Oh yeah, that's a sign of age, isn't it? When you think, oh, how old's that thing I mean, even the DS is probably considered a classic by Sprogs these days.
Dude, the 360 is
how would you
considered
propose
retro.
moving a ship out of a tight spot? I certainly wouldn't fucking post about it on Twitter, assuming I know no more than fucking engineers. Jesus Christ, men, stop it.
Two trucks, one at either end, going opposite sides. It's dead simple. It's just a boat. It's floating in water. How heavy can it be?
Without incriminating yourself, what's the best crime? Piracy. PS5 has a Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart. Oh shit! I incriminate myself. Favorite PS2 era game? God, so many. I've got a stack of them. But as soon as you say PS2 era, I immediately think Katamari.
Yes.
The second one. We love Katamari. What is your favorite game that you won't tell anyone you play? Magikarp Jump on my phone. It's basically a cookie clicker, but I just can't stop playing it for some stupid reason. Boxers, Briefs, or Free Willy? Jockeys. I'm a jockeys man. Which is the better banana in pajama? 2. If it was me, I would simply not get. But there you go.
This is
I would not get a
amazing.
vote. So spot on. Damage can see here at Longship Industry to get all the important information, like opinions on social media to favorite photo crisps. This is all very important shit. Bob the Builder, can he actually fix it? If it's a broken relationship, no. What's the best application of prawns in food? I'm a big fan of the prawn puree. Nice curry prawns with a nice bready thing. Also, prawn bucatini, nice, lovely pasta dish. I think that's it. I think that's all the questions. Magikarp Jump is not a Flappy Bird clone. You basically feed a Magikarp and compete against other Magikarp owners to see who can jump the highest. And then when they can't jump any higher, they retire and you get another Magikarp, and they come in different colors, and you can get different foods and training sessions for them. It's terrible, but it's weirdly compelling. Is Mr. Blobby actually that scary? Yeah, look at him. Listen to him. Terrible. Favorite anime? Look.
Yes.
Here. It's there on my wall. Also, man, I was a huge fan of Devilman Crybaby. That thing affected me. That thing affected me at a fundamental level. Like, that broke me. What a
dude, the
terrible,
art style
wonderful
alone.
thing. It's incredible.
Which it's also
is Zebedee really the Lord of the? Go on, sorry.
No, go for it.
Garlic bread or toast early? Well, I like a bruschetta. That's the best thing. Dexter's Lab or Powerpuff Girls? I was always a Dexter's Lab guy. Is Zebedee really the Lord of the Magic about how to resist his reign of terror? Fucking, he's a spring, isn't he? So you do what you do with Slinkies. You just kind of get him in a bit of a tangle and he can't get anywhere.
Push him down the stairs.
Will loves sharks. What's your opinion on them? Love them. My daughter's a massive shark fan, so I've just got shark paraphernalia all around the house.
I am mortally afraid of sharks.
You can get a gold Magikarp, and the gold Magikarp gives you fucking mad money, man. Infinite Ribena or infinite stale digestives? Stale digestives. Is there a Neon Genesis Evangelion poster hidden behind the Akira pose you just gestured towards? No, there isn't.
Wow, Earl, that was a cut-in. Huh.
Digimon or Pokemon? Pokemon. Best Hanna-Barbera character?
If you can name anyone that's not Yogi Bear, I'm impressed.
Well, I was going to say Hong Kong Phooey. Yes, the proper pronunciation. Thank you. Glad someone recognised it. Gandalf the Grey or Gandalf the White? Grey, man. He's got the edge. Gandalf the White's just too up himself.
Yeah, he got
Weetabix or Otabix? Weetabix, if you're talking full size, when they used to do the Otabix minis, they were the fucking bomb. Pineapple on pizza? No, but I will enjoy it in Thai food. There you go.
Yes.
I am Team Shark. Hell's yes.
Oh, dude, I'm so afraid. So that's the reason
Why
why.
do you sound like a horse race commentator right now? I'm just matching the pace at which the questions are coming in.
You gotta flex
I'm
sometimes.
trying not to deviate. Clotty cream or Devon cream? I don't know if I've had Devon cream. Clotty cream. I'm a huge scone lover. Clotty cream. Asking the cooler questions. Yes, he is. Or she. Man United or literally anyone else. Wolves supporter, mate. I'm from Wolverhampton, born and bred.
I don't know. It's great. You get to flex. Though Stringer Please wasn't joking. They can literally throw questions at you for hours.
It's awesome. I love it. I love people who can do that. Gareth's like that at work. Gareth is just able to just ask those, just come up with an endless stream of random shit, and I love it. Vegemite or Marmite? Can't say I've ever had Vegemite, but I'm a big fan of Marmite.
Dude, people say Vegemite is similar to Marmite. It's not. It's a dark horror. It's the scrapings of sadness and regret, but in a spread you can put on things.
Is it like Ultra Marmite? Is it like a concentrate?
It hits your tongue and you're like, okay, we're going down a Marmite flavored path, and then it goes wildly off-road into a place I never wanted to go.
Because I'm not watching it on the stream, I'm getting this sort of 30-second. You're not actually watching this on Twitch thing, but I think the next question was Call of Duty or Battlefield. I have to say, one of the things I booted up when I got my PS5 was Cold War, because I had a free code for it lying around. And Jesus Christ, the adaptive controller, I'm having a great time with it. But zombies specifically, I'm really loving zombies. So that's what I'm getting stuck into.
Well, I'm usually very critical of the Call of Duty series because I've got to keep my tilted beret status for indie games. This version of zombie mode has been one of the best in so long.
It's excellent. It's genuinely. I've been playing a lot of Firebase Z, and then the new open world one they've just added looks like a lot of fun as well.
Yeah.
But what I didn't used to like was when you were shooting the zombies, it felt quite spongy, and I didn't really get that feedback. And now they've really just fucking nailed the kick from a shotgun as you're like popping heads off and stuff, and when you've got that sort of resistance on the trigger combined with it, it's just top tier. I love it. Now I've had this 30-second countdown 3 times round now. I'm getting told off repeatedly for not watching it on Twitch.
It's the blue screen of death. It's they tried to roll out this thing to stop people watching on third-party sites, and it keeps biffing it up for people. Now I can throw you some.
I'll tell you what.
I can throw you some of the quickfire questions if you want.
Fine, if people are asking them, I'll answer them. I'm trying to load it up on browser now, so we'll see if I have any more joy bringing that up. This has been such an entertaining deviation.
I'm down for it. Like, this is the glory of Twitch. This wasn't where I thought we'd end up, but I'm glad we're here.
We're meant to be having this semi-earnest conversation about community.
No, dude, we nailed that. We nailed that before. Now we're
we scrapped that ages ago. I'm getting served an advert for Pringles at the moment as a zombie eating some Pringles.
Okay.
Here we go. Sexiest video character you've ever liked. Do you know what? I've really got an odd thing for the new version of Blaze in Streets of Rage 4.
No, that's fair. I mean,
don't know.
The other one was sexiest video game character that isn't sexualized.
Sexiest video game character that isn't sexualized.
Obviously, the go-to answer, and any other answer is wrong, is the ants from EDF. Just gonna say it. Giant ants from space. Giant ants from space.
Squaresoft or Enix or Squenix? Squaresoft. What do you cook when you're inspired to make something extra?
Ooh.
Oh God, what? I've made so much recently because I get these Gusto box things, and now I'm just like I'm making all sorts of crazy shit like constantly. I'm trying to think. I honestly cannot come back. I'll tell you what I made today. I made a lamb meatloaf with panko breadcrumbs and red onion with a red currant glaze with rosemary potatoes and garlic and butter infused spring greens and carrots. And a red berry and a red currant dew. So there you go. The fan's out.
Yeah, fan's out. Woof. Stringer is asking, without incriminating yourself, what's the most intense thing you'd call Will to save you from?
the bad men.
The bad men.
The bad men. Will, the bad men are here.
I'm on the way.
That was it. I'm on my way. He's coming, guys. He's coming. He's really coming. Better watch out now. Will's on his way. What image or theme instantly sends your eyes to hell and makes you turn the game off? For me, spores, mold. I've got a very high threshold for anything, really. Yeah. Although my days of sort of extreme horror are probably past me, that it doesn't take a lot to. It takes a lot for me to be like there. I'm not a big fan of like knives and cutting, but it's never quite realistic enough in games for me to be put off that. So. Hold off on the sexy talk.
Weirdly,
movie that has the credits before the movie instead of after. Holy Grail, Monty Python.
Deadpool 2.
Deadpool 2. I'm pretty sure Monty Python and Holy Grail does it because they have that end where the police arrive and it just gets cut off. Mr. Blobby, Anne Widdecombe, and Noel Edmonds. Fuck Mr. Blobby, marry Noel Edmonds, kill Anne Widdecombe. What drink at a bar or coffee shop makes you judge the person ordering it, even if you like and respect them? With alcohol, like, I absolutely do not give a fuck, but anyone that basically orders a coffee to such an extent that it just isn't coffee anymore, like, just fuck off. If you want to... Sorry, mate, just don't.
No,
I'll have a gingerbread swirl latte with a vanilla shot. Piss off. If Batman is Batman because he's afraid of bats, what are you afraid of and thus the man of? Lonely man. Stammering gamer Vita. Hey, do we still have the depth clips? All right, they've stopped again. They've slowed down again.
Okay, you caught it up.
The Grinch, the Babadook, the Fat Controller. I would. Fuck. That order, actually. Fuck the Grinch, marry the Babadook, kill the Fat Controller.
Okay.
And then his reign of tyranny over the trains would be over.
I still think he's like a fucking Cyodyne systems employee. Like, I reckon there's sentient AI trains. And the reason their trains are not robots is that contains them on the track. But they're living AI sentient creatures. Yeah. They're sentient robots. And
have you seen that artist that imagines them? Have you seen that artist that imagines them as if they had like guts inside
it crawls out the front. I'm like,
wow, someone said, wow, I wonder if your coffee is as bitter as that take. No, I mean, I'm not against, the classics, the cappuccinos, whatever you, but I just think that fundamentally there has to be, the taste of coffee at the root of it. Otherwise, what you're saying is, I don't like coffee, really. You have a butler all of a sudden for free and you can't get rid of them. What's your first order to them? Dishwasher, mate.
The Tsar is delegating.
Cinnamon buns or... Yeah, the Tsar is delegating. Callback, love it. Cinnamon buns or apple pie. Cinnabuns, man. Cinnamon buns, hells yes.
Oh, my word.
Yeah. I'm on it. Was there anything else you wanted to ask, Will?
There's nothing I've got in the tank that is as good as some of the stuff that's coming up right now.
This is a Gareth Wild question. Would you rather eat 100 duck-sized bananas or one horse-sized banana? 100 duck-sized bananas, I would wager, is way larger than a horse banana, so it has to be a horse banana. If you were a horse, would you be English saddle or Western? What that is. Western. When people say money doesn't buy happiness, that is what poor people tell other poor people. No. True. I mean, it's not my speed, but I don't like coffee. Any of the effects of coffee would be valid. Drink a fucking can of Coke. What a manhole covers. Why a manhole covers the door to my house? Because you're a chud. You're a chud.
Okay,
look it up. If you don't know what chud is, look it up.
Craig Chaotic did have a good one. If you had to recommend a game to someone that released in 2020, what would it be?
Say that again, sorry?
A game that released in 2020.
What about it?
If it was one game that released in 2020 that you'd recommend to other humans.
Oh, sorry. It would definitely have to be either Hades or Yakuza 7.
Oh, like a dragon.
Like a dragon. What a load of fun. I mean, and Ichiban is just amazing. Like one of the best game protagonists of all time. What an amazing replacement for Kazuma. I think he definitely, he'd outstayed his welcome, and just to have this sort of positive energy from Ichiban is incredible. Love him. No disrespect to Kazuma, but he'd had his game.
He's had his many games. And JD, thank you for the follow. The only downside about doing streaming full time is there's only so many games you can play in a week, and there's too many brilliant games.
Too many. Honestly, it's just I have this horrible habit now of like I've got a wish list on my Switch for the eShop, and I'll just grab stuff the moment it goes cheap, and I keep adding to it, and I'm like, why am I doing this? Like, I've literally just bought a PS5. I've got Monster Hunter Rise, which is clearly going to get hundreds of hours of play. Why do I keep buying these other games? But I'm doing it, and I'll keep doing it, and you can't stop me. Will, you can't stop me. Don't try.
I tried. I nearly lost a finger last time. Like,
what accent you wish you could imitate, but you just can't? Well, it's either going to be the Irish or the Scottish brogue, because I am half Irish, but I can't do it to save my life. And I just think the Scottish accent is absolute magic. So I wish I could. Because I just think it just gives you so much more character than my fucking Brummy, Wolfrunian drawl.
As a small aside, though, Stringer Please can do an almost spot-on impersonation of every character from The Crown, and it's upsetting and brilliant.
Wow.
Yeah. So
that's awesome.
We're doing GTFO. I'm doing GTFO this Saturday with Stringer because we're both terrible at shooters, and I feel that a hardcore, super deep sci-fi game is the perfect place to take a bunch of Egypts in space. I am worried that in a moment of panic, I'm going to hear Margaret Thatcher over comms, and it's going to be the last thing my character hears, and I'm afraid of this. I needed to share this with you.
You don't suddenly want to have Charles in your ear, do you?
And Wraith's calling me out because... So, I was a big fan of Jim's work when he was over at Video Gamer, right? And even more so back when he was back at the unfortunately titled Game Wank.
Yes.
So I got into a really bad habit of trying to emulate his Tam McLeish voice.
Right.
And sometimes when I'm either very excitable or very angry or very drunk, it comes out. Wraith is actually from Glasgow, and I am apologising to him constantly. This is a thing that happens.
Oh no!
Yeah,
No!
I can't stop. I'm trying.
It's like I don't know if you watch RuPaul, but Drag Race UK has been so aggravating to watch every episode of Ru just going, Lawrence Cheney, like every time. It's like, you can't do it. Stop it.
Oh, but it's just once it gets the hooks into you, it's the worst.
Mine always lapses in. Mine actually turns it into Fat Bastard instead. Yeah.
There's a reference that has dated. Like carbon date.
Bear. Oh, hey. The other white meat. It's just, I want my baby back. It's awful. Just awful. It really always lapses into a sort of cod, Billy Connolly stroke Fat Bastard, nonsense. So I just don't do it. I just did it, but I won't again. I'm sorry. I realise we do have someone watching from Scotland, and I do apologise to all of your people.
Well, Craig Chaotic, who I believe came in to hang out with your good self, and Wraith, who's one of my regulars, are both from Scotland. So we're offending not just one, but two people at once.
Hooray!
We're so sorry. So Catfish was mentioning, just to depth again, that Sharks and Margaret Thatcher would be horrifying. Quite possibly. Okay, Stringer's got another banger. If you were a hack comedian, what would be your prop? Because I know mine.
Inflatable crocodile.
Nice. I'd have one of the squeaky chickens that everyone has on YouTube, but I'd always use it in poor timing, so it would never actually be funny. It'd just be a offset with bad jokes.
What would be my catchphrase? Oh. What was yours, Will? Say that again?
Mine was one of those squeezable chickens. The ones that made it very big on YouTube. Yeah.
I don't know what I think my inflatable crocodile, and I just say something nonsensical like snap, snap. Awful. Billy Connolly stroke Fat Bastard is not an image I needed. Well, there you go.
Oh, that's some Inception.
I can't masturbate to this. My best friend just delivered 20 McNuggets and a McFlurry to my door. Not a question, just a boast. Faster.
That's just a flex on the rest of us.
It's just a flex. I'm jealous, though. Have you heard Will's northern accent? As a Yorkshireman and a fan, I'm not sure whether to laugh or be insulted.
Wow. Okay, I only have a couple of accents that come out sometimes. And I will admit, I have said, down at pit, down at man, oh, back in my day, we're uphill both ways, I tell thee. And you, Sean Bean, were you, and knee eye upon me here, I tell thee. And I'm not proud of that, but it does also
the answer then is to be insulted.
I'm sorry!
I'm sorry. Dogs or cats, can't go back, only one. Sorry, well, cats. Self-sufficient. Same reason I just don't like people depending on me. So no, I'm not going to start a cult like Will's. Too much.
It's not a fucking cult. Oh my god. They keep messing with me.
It's not a cult.
It's not a cult.
It's just a group of people I regularly force to have sex with me. Is it the only? Is it?
Oh.
I love that Will's answer is just half the cast of all creatures, great and small. Amazing.
Oh god, we're going into the deep British references here.
We are sorry for American viewers.
And Lord Calcium Bonio is just, what if Skeletor could say fuck? It's not a clever voice. It's just, yeah, fuck you, He-Man. That's it. That's the whole thing.
Or you dry old boob.
I'll blow your fucking legs off, you furry shit. It's that. It's just that.
Fuck you, Orko. Anyway,
Oh my word. Oh, okay. So they got all creatures great and small on PBS. Okay.
Amazing.
Oh, of course, Wraith copied that blank. Oh my word. Oh, this is gonna be one for the ages, friends.
Uncommon opinion about video games, like video game health bars are far too slim. Far too slim. Small, uncommon, controversial opinion about video games. I hate menus that don't let you scroll back to the start once you've got to the end. I think that's like the absolute worst UI design. So, you scroll through a menu to the bottom, and rather than being able to cycle back through to the top, you have to scroll all the way back to the top.
Yep.
Fuck that. Skeletor podcast with just everyone who can do the voice. I'd like a similar thing, but only people that can do Toad's voice.
No one wants to hear 4 Toads. Okay.
Yeah, exactly. Everyone would last about 5 minutes at most before they were just their throat had been shredded, and it was just like, yeah. But also, they'd have to discuss really important topical issues of the day, not trivial Toad chat, like really in-depth, highbrow political.
Here's my views on the current trade embargoes going on. No, I can't even hold it for like a sentence.
Exactly.
I started wavering towards the end. No one wants that.
You know how to move the boat in the Suez Canal?
2 trucks! This is my job now, dude. This is what I do to pay the bills.
How you make a living. I should do this.
I'd string us like Toad as famous quotes.
You know how I got these scars? My dad was a drinker.
No. Christopher Nolan's Toad. Don't encourage this.
Put in the basket, or else he gets the hose again.
I'm gonna wake my kid up with this.
Do you mean from the noise, or just that's your plan in the morning? Be like, rise and shine. Give your poor kid a complex about Toad.
Wakey, wakey, and
I mean, you gotta give them therapists something to work with. Oh, yeah, you're right, Kisa.
Every morning he'd wear a mushroom on his head, a giant mushroom on his head. Anyway.
Yeah. No, you're right, Kisa. I shouldn't kill my voice at, like, midway through the week. Oh.
What is grief if not love persevere? Toad with the vision wisdom. Oh, look, they're all wanting now.
Buy yourself something nice and never do that voice again, okay?
Say hello, my little friend.
Katros literally threw in 300 bits. Katros literally threw in bits with the, here's 300 bits. Go buy yourself something nice and never do that voice again.
Well, I'm not getting the bit, so I will continue to do the voice.
I'm dying. It's been a good run. Bury me where I lie. Oh.
Career ended by Toad.
Wouldn't be the first person.
Wouldn't be the first.
Oh. So, sorry, friend, I should have asked, how long have we got you for? Because I've stolen you for like almost 2.5 hours.
I don't know, you're keeping me from my Monster Hunter, but apart from that, I'm all right, man. I don't know if there was anything else. I don't know if it's worth following this with anything remotely serious or insightful. But if there's if there's anything else you or anyone wants to know before I sign off, it's been a pleasure though. I've really enjoyed this and the terrifying segue that we've gone down.
That is a good point. I mean, Kisa, that is an option. Like, I was going to jump into Monster Hunter after this. You might be ahead of me, because I've only done... I think I just hit Hunter Rank 2. So... Oh,
yeah. I mean, I always tend to focus on single and then sort of join up. And what I've heard about this one is if you do low-rank single quests and focus on that, there's a certain point where you can take a sort of exam of sorts to skip up to high rank without having done the multiplayer.
Oh,
but
nice.
I think I'm HR. I might be HR2, whatever. I've got Magnum Aloe as the urgent quest now, which I crashed and burned on. So I went back with my tail between my legs back to the village to basically just get better armor and boost my weapons a little bit and just get something a set that was more befitting Magnum Aloe, who's an awesome character. Awesomely designed creature, but when I took him on in single player and just had the best time, because my new thing now is just be cavalry. I'll go off and find another creature on the map and just ride it to the target and then just beat the shit out of it and do the sort of finishing blow. And I managed to do that with a Rathian, taking down a Magnum Aloe with the tail flip, and it was just phenomenal. What I love is that Capcom have gone, like, what was the best bit from Monster Hunter World? It was like, oh, let them fight, watching that bit of the two monsters just clashing in a level, and then going, now let them do it, let the player do that instead, and you're like, yes, it's awesome.
Though I do feel I've been given a terrifying power with this ability, because now I can take the most gnarly bastard, the Kezu, and I can ride it at my friends. If anyone's mean to me with my bowgun...
Kezu's finishing attack is awesome.
Oh, it's so... I mean, it's haunting. Oh, sorry. Stringer Please has to head out, but wanted to say thank you for letting them play rapid fire question time.
I'm going to text my friends the Grinch, the Babadook, and the Fat Controller with their great news.
Maybe not great news for the Fat Controller, but...
No. But tell the Grinch to get the lube. Rathalos is also unexpectedly beefed up. Oh no, they've made him more of a shit. Okay. Good. I haven't got that. Someone said, how would you rate MH Rise compared to World? I would describe Rise as in some ways a compromise, in that they've taken sort of the elements of traditional Monster Hunter and married that to some of the quality of life stuff of World. But obviously due to the technical limitations of the Switch, in some ways that's worked in its favor. The hub, for example, is way more compact and easy to get around. Yes. And they've just taken some of the complexity out of it. When I went back to Iceborne Cold after a few months, and I was just like, holy shit, there's a lot I'm supposed to remember here. And Monster Hunter does have that thing of sort of escalating in complexity. But they've really geared this one towards going, okay, World was definitely a step in the right direction of taking out a lot of the rigmarole that we used to associate with Monster World in terms of the gathering side of it. They've made the navigation even more fast-paced with riding the Palamutes around and using the wire bugs to zip around environments as well.
Yeah.
Which is just great, and that adds such an element to combat as well. It's so well integrated, and the verticality is really well integrated as well. But it's weird. It's a different game, and I'm not sure if playing it on PC after playing World might feel like a step backward, whereas feeling it on playing it on the Switch feels like it's natural home, and you kind of understand why it is the way it is on Switch.
Yeah.
I would wager that there's going to be a Monster Hunter World 2 or whatever they decide to call it that is absolutely going to blow us away, because I think Capcom's RE engine or RE engine is just one of the best things out there, and what they were able to pull off on last gen hardware, I cannot even imagine how good the next iteration of that game is going to look. I think it's just going to be mind-blowingly good.
Like 100%. It's been lovely to see so much of the quality of life stuff carried through, like you were saying,
and the posing. Sorry, yes, go on.
And just that it got me thinking back to playing like Freedom Unite for the first time, like back on, was it 3 Freedom Unite, or was it, I forget.
Yeah, there's a whole sub numbering, isn't there?
Yeah, and being so lost in the village each time. It took me so many guides. Actually, speaking of people that are now doing great, good old Arakez, or however you say his... Arix. Who's now doing gangbusters. Like, I became aware of him because he was the one that wasn't Gaijin Hunter, who I found very patronizing back in the day. And now Arix is like one of the big YouTube peoples, and I'm so happy to see him do well.
Yeah, ex Microsoft as well. So when they were doing the community driven sort of initiative on Xbox One in the early days, he was part of that team. And then
no idea.
Splintered off from that and carried on doing his own thing really well. I've met him a few times. I've had him on various things that I've hosted, and I love his style. And to sort of go full circle, the 2 videos you mentioned earlier that I did with Capcom with the Gormagala outfit.
Yeah.
One of those was exclusively on his channel, which shows the sort of degree of clout that he's got in that space now.
Yeah. Well, because one of the things that people were saying is, like, after this, I'm going on to play Monster Hunter Rise with everybody. So if you want to combine nattering and hunting, we can do that. We have that power.
We can potentially do that. Yeah, let's give that a go. Adds another great Dan to the Dan list. What's someone saying? Oh, what's your top 3 most wanted games? Oh, blimey. I can't even think what's coming now. Oh, do you know what? My number 1 most anticipated game at the moment is Pokemon Snap.
Yes.
I fucking love that on the N64 so much. I've been waiting for so long for them to do a new one, and it looks the biz. I'm really excited about the new Pokemon Snap. Bayonetta 3, I can't wait for. Absolutely cannot wait.
Oh, do we have a confirmation that that's coming?
Yeah, it was announced. There was a trailer a while back.
Fuck, I missed
it. Didn't show any gameplay. It's been like that and nothing. Yes, Pokemon Snap is going to be dank. You are fucking right, mate. Was that Jaffa James likes it? Yeah, you are absolutely right. It's going to bang. And then I guess Breath of the Wild 2.
That's a good point. Like, I was one of the people that, because I was so obsessed with Breath of the Wild, Genshin Impact kind of ricocheted off me a little bit. I appreciate why it's good and why people are enjoying it, but I'm definitely looking forward to Breath of the Wild 2. New worlds, new exploration, new ways I can fuck up cooking. Like, sign me the hell up.
Yeah, and I wonder if it is going to coincide with the oft-rumored Switch Pro. I'd be surprised.
Yeah, there's been some rumblings, especially when it comes to... Oh, no, it dropped right out of my head. Oh, some of the hardware that's going to be going into it. There's been some rumors rumbling around on that. So we'll probably... Okay, we probably won't hear about it, but I have a feeling that it's been postponed a little bit just because of the current state of stuff. That's my current.
It wouldn't be a Zelda game if there wasn't some apologetic message.
And massive delay.
Please understand. Yeah, you know. That's fine. Just let him do it. Just let him do it.
Just let him have it.
Just let him have it. Just let him do it.
But yeah, if you want to do some hunts together, like that's literally what I was going to do after this. I know you've got a family and whatnot, so I don't want to keep you up until 1,000 o'clock at night.
Or is it 11:30 at the moment? I'm just trying to think what the best way is for me to do, because right now I'm basically running I've got a little Switch dock, because this is where I'm working at the moment. I'm home working like most people are, and I've got a Switch dock, so I'm kind of flicking between.
I think you pushed the button.
The details on Discord or something, and I could join. So I could flip my laptop lid up basically. Oh, I've disappeared again.
You did. You disappeared for a brief. I mean, we can switch.
It's weird. I didn't notice before, but I'm watching the stream now, and I can see that I've.
We can switch you to audio only, and then I can just tell you friend codes and whatnot.
Yeah, that'd be awesome. Weird.
And friends, if you have any more questions for Dan, like roll them through. We hit on all the big topics I wanted to chat with today, and so many topics I never knew I wanted to talk about today.
I will warn you, I am going to wear my glasses if I'm going to be playing video games.
How could you?
I know. Because I can't see shit.
So what I'm going to do, good sir, is swap you to audio mode.
Okay.
And so you can turn off your camera.
Go for it.
And then we'll get some Monster Hunter going and keep on playing.
Sounds good. I might also take a quick loo break.
Dude, go for it. We are in no rush.
Awesome, mate. 1 sec.
Yeah. Alright, so it looks like we're playing some Monster Hunter Rise.